Jiang Fan's mid-grade foundation establishment pill just shattered in his hand, revealing a costly defect. Meanwhile, the legendary Gale Pearl emerges, and a shocking secret about his identity comes to light. Leave a like and subscribe to walk this cultivation road. The chief's daily work involved evaluating various treasures. The treasures she had seen, not to mention 10,000, numered 8 to 9,000 at least. For a mid-grade foundation establishment pill, she had handled no less than 100 of them. She could accurately judge the quality with just one glance. The current mid-grade foundation establishment pill had a rich fragrance, a bright color, and fine, glossy texture. One look and it was clearly of top quality. Jiang Fan shrugged. "Anyway, I'm not interested. Whoever wants it can take it." At this moment, a one-eyed martial artist also took notice of the item and urged, "Miss, are you taking this bottle of foundation establishment pills or not?" When Xianxia released her hand and the other party promptly took it. He then paid 100 crystal stones and handed them over on the spot. "Haha, got it. With such high quality, I can resell it for 200 crystal stones. I'm rich." He inspected the jade bottle with great satisfaction. When Xianxia spoke with a hint of derision, "Aunt, did you see that? I wanted to help him, but he didn't even take the opportunity handed to him." When Hongyao excused Jiang Fan's behavior. "He's not a soul master, how would he understand the intricacies of pills? Besides, why didn't you buy it for him just now? Why let it go to someone else?" When Xianxia, who had inexplicably received another lecture, wore a look of frustration on her face. She retorted disdainfully, "He acts all high and mighty, what can I do?" At this time, the one-eyed martial artist chuckled and announced, "Everyone, I'm offering this pill for sale on the spot. Who wants it?" Many martial artists cast envious glances. During every special sale, there were always a few lucky ones like this. This foundation establishment pill was one of the most profitable items in this event. 150 crystal stones, and it's yours. A martial artist who needed a mid-grade foundation establishment pill was tempted. 150, fine, 150 it is. The one-eyed martial artist calculated. Since it was a special sale item, it was bound to have some flaws, making it difficult to sell for a full 200 crystal stones. 150 seemed a bit low, but as the saying goes, better a penny in hand than 2 pennies in promise. The 50 crystal stones already earned were his. Continuing to hold on to it risked being robbed or losing it, a risk he couldn't afford. So he agreed. "First, I want to inspect the pill," the other party requested. The one-eyed martial artist laughed. "Don't worry, even though I, Liu He, have only one eye, it's sharper than 2 eyes. He opened the jade bottle on the spot and poured the mid-grade foundation establishment pill into his palm. Before he could take a closer look, the pill unexpectedly split in 2 the moment it touched his hand. All the martial artists on site were stunned. "The pill cracked. This is a defective product. It's because during the solidifying stage, the fire was too intense, making the pill overly dry and brittle. Such a defective product has lost most of its efficacy. Even 10 crystal stones might not fetch a buyer. He spent 100 crystal stones on this, and Myriad Treasure's pavilion must be laughing behind his back." The one-eyed martial artist was dumbstruck on the spot. His chest heaved with anger, his body staggered, and he looked as if he was about to faint. When Xianxia's face stiffened. She had indeed misjudged. Just as Jiang Fan said, this pill was poor in quality, and even threefold was a heavy loss. "We all make errors occasionally, this doesn't mean anything." When Xianxia defended herself with a flushed face, Jiang Fan simply smiled. At this time, more than half of the items in the round tray had been bought. Only some unwanted objects were left. A few brawny men, seeing it was almost over, prepared to carry the tray back. Suddenly, Jiang Fan noticed a piece of withered spirit ginseng in the tray. Several of its roots were broken. Spirit ginseng was mostly given as gifts rather than for use. Therefore, its completeness was highly required. Otherwise, it couldn't be given away. Nobody asked about this spirit ginseng for the same reason. "How much for the spirit ginseng?" Jiang Fan picked up the withered spirit ginseng and asked. The brawny man in charge of the pricing looked at Jiang Fan, who appeared very young but wore the green cloud sect attire. His gaze flickered and he said, 100 crystal stones. The frequenters of the special sales all grimaced instantly. These wretched Myriad Treasure's pavilion guys are black-hearted all the way through. This broken spirit ginseng has gone through more than 10 rounds of special sales, and even at 10 crystal stones, no one buys it. They see this young master looks easy to deceive and from the green cloud sect, wealthy, so they want to fleece him hard. an old, kind-hearted martial artist warned. Young man, 100 crystal stones can buy a complete spirit ginseng of this size and quality. It's not worth picking a defective one here. You should instead, he intended to continue, but the brawny man cast a fierce look that scared him into silence. Then, rubbing his hands with a grin, he said, Young master, you indeed have a keen eye, though this spirit ginseng doesn't look good, it is quite old. At 100 crystal stones, you're making a huge profit. Jiang Fan nodded in agreement. It really is a good thing. All right, 100 crystal stones, I'll take it. Hey, when Shengnan hurriedly stopped him, looking at him as if he was a fool, are you deaf? Others kindly warned you that this item isn't worth much. Why are you going the opposite way? Jiang Fan waved his hand. Don't interfere. Saying this, he handed over 100 crystal stones and completed the transaction. When Shengnan was furious and ranted, Aunt, look at this guy. Is this what you call capable? Clearly, he's a fool. Jiang Fan, tucking the spirit ginseng into his sleeve, was irritated. He planned to examine the spirit ginseng thoroughly when no one was around, as one should not flaunt one's wealth. But being mocked by Wen Shengnan, who could tolerate that? And you, a chief of the auction house, couldn't see the peculiar nature of this spirit ginseng. Jiang Fan took out the spirit ginseng and challenged her. Hey, questioning me? Wen Shengnan had already been embarrassed once earlier. If she were embarrassed again, she wouldn't be able to face her job as a chief. Then please show us the extraordinary aspect of this spirit ginseng, Mr. Capable. Wen Shengnan challenged with resentment. Wen Hongyao frowned. Shengnan, don't be rude. It's Jiang's choice to buy what he wants, why do you care? She had to speak up. She hadn't intervened with the Foundation establishment pill earlier because she was not a soul master and had no say in spirit pills. But spirit ginseng was an herb. As the peak master of Medicine Peak, who knew better about spirit ginseng than her, this clearly poor-quality spirit ginseng was indeed worthless. When Shengnan's public reveal would embarrass Jiang Fan. Aunt, young should be polished. Jiang needs a good lesson. When Shengnan disregarded and said, All right, show us the extraordinary aspect of this spirit ginseng then. The brawny man from Myriad Treasures Pavilion who sold the spirit ginseng was joyfully counting the crystal stones. Upon hearing this, he also cracked a grin. Having sold an unwanted item for such a high price after half a year, he would earn at least 30 crystal stones as commission. It was a massive profit. Jiang Fan didn't waste words. He placed the spirit ginseng on the table, pulled out the black sword from his back, and scraped the surface of the spirit ginseng with the blade. He peeled off a layer of dried bark, revealing the dried, yellowish flesh of the spirit ginseng. When Shengnan craned her neck and raised an eyebrow, saying, Do you mean to say this flesh is special? At this moment, Jiang Fan threw the flesh of the spirit ginseng aside, as if tossing garbage. When Shengnan was stunned, staring at Jiang Fan as if she were looking at a fool. She whispered, Aunt, is there something wrong with Jiang Fan's head? He threw away the spirit ginseng, so what's he going to show? When Hongyao was also confused. She didn't understand what Jiang Fan intended, until Jiang Fan's gaze focused on the table full of spirit ginseng bark. A smile flashed in his eyes, and he said, Seems I've made quite a profit. See. The crowd was puzzled. Jiang Fan suddenly swept his sleeve and gathered all the dry skin on the table into his palm. Then he circulated his spiritual power, and a ball of flame immediately rose in his palm, with a crackling sound. The dry skin began to burn, turning into spirals of black smoke that dispersed into the air, until there were no impurities left. Jiang Fan extinguished the flame and opened his palm. The crowd looked over in astonishment. They saw the pile of dry skin in his palm had been mostly burned away. Only some sparkling gold dust remained. When Hongyao fixed her gaze and seemed to have discovered something, her eyes suddenly changed. She quickly stepped forward with the aid of her cane, inspected closely, and exclaimed, Sky-shaking powder. It's really sky-shaking powder. There was some sky-shaking powder hidden in the skin of that spirit ginseng. Upon hearing the name sky-shaking powder, the whole place burst into an uproar. No way, is that the legendary powder that explodes upon contact with water and can kill even those in the core formation realm. This item is so rare that even a single grain is worth a fortune. This small amount could sell for at least 10,000 crystal stones. Heavens, what opportunity did I miss? Such expensive materials were right in front of me, and I didn't notice. Loud sounds of people slapping their thighs echoed in the venue. The burly man who counted the crystal stones stood there in a daze. He felt a strong urge to spit blood. It turned out he wasn't the one who made a profit off Jiang Fan. It was Jiang Fan who profited greatly from the myriad treasures pavilion. When Shengnan stood there slack-jawed, she looked at Jiang Fan in disbelief. If the foundation establishment pill was a stroke of luck for Jiang Fan, something stumbled upon by chance, then the sky-shaking powder was definitely not a coincidence. "Ain't this guy know this young master Jiang?" Wen Shengnan muttered, when Hongyao no longer concealed anything, saying, "This youngster has an almost demon-like talent when it comes to medicinal herbs." "Now you believe it, don't you?" Wen Shengnan nodded dumbfoundedly. Even her aunt hadn't spotted the presence of sky-shaking powder, yet Jiang Fan identified it at a glance. Calling his talent demonic was not an exaggeration at all. She finally understood why her aunt favored Jiang Fan so much. Who wouldn't treasure such a prodigy? Just then, a person in charge from the Myriad Treasures Pavilion rushed over upon hearing the news, regretting deeply as he looked at the sky-shaking powder in Jiang Fan's hand. After looking at Jiang Fan's attire and realizing he was a disciple of the Qingxian sect, the person had no choice but to accept it. He clasped his hands and said, "Young master, we are willing to buy back the sky-shaking powder at a high price." 1,000 crystal stones, how does that sound? 1,000. Jiang Fan laughed angrily and said, "Since I could separate the sky-shaking powder from the spirit ginseng, do you think I wouldn't know what it is or how much it's worth?" Embarrassed, the person in charge laughed again, clasped his hands, and said, 8,000 then. The market price should be around 10,000 crystal stones. 8,000 was somewhat low, but buyers capable of purchasing sky-shaking powder were very few, and selling it would take a lot of time. And with the auction approaching, he needed to gather funds to buy the Yellow Springs purifying water. Junior brother Jiang, unique goods can always fetch a high price. Sky-shaking powder is extremely rare, why not bring it to the auction? The price will surely exceed 10,000 crystal stones. When Shengnan saw Jiang Fan was considering and quickly stepped forward to stop him. Jiang Fan also thought it made sense, so he cheerfully agreed, saying, "By the way, I also have some materials I want to sell through your auction house. Take a look and see if they catch your eye." Oh, when Shengnan was surprised. Jiang Fan had good things on him, but he was just a disciple. Considering his outstanding talent, Wen Shengnan didn't think any further and said, "Come with me to the auction house. This is not the place to talk." With her personally leading the way, Jiang Fan easily entered the residence where the high-ranking members of the auction house were temporarily resting. As they walked, Wen Shengnan explained, "At the touring auction, there's a president, 2 vice presidents, plus 6 chief stewards. I am one of the 3 chief stewards under Vice President Su. I am usually responsible for liaising with various major forces and seeking top-grade treasures." Jiang Fan nodded lightly. Wen Shengnan's brows furrowed with concern, saying, "I haven't been performing well lately and have not been able to find any superior treasures. Vice President Su has been quite critical of me. This time, coming to Qingxian City, I still haven't found any suitable treasures to present to the auction house. I'm afraid, sigh." She sighed repeatedly, feeling very pessimistic about her future. Jiang Fan understood. There was competition among the 2 vice presidents and the 6 chief stewards. Whoever could find more treasures would gain higher status, benefits, and honors at the auction. He chuckled and said, "If you can present the items I have to Vice President Su, I believe your troubles will be resolved easily." When Shengnan thought Jiang Fan was talking about the sky-shaking powder and cheerfully replied, "There shouldn't be any issue. The sky-shaking powder is certainly a treasure. Come, I'll take you to see Vice President Su." At that moment, in a sitting room, Vice President Su Xianquan was receiving Nie Yunxi and Liu Qingxian. He was about 70 years old. His eyes were like an eagle's, his face was chiseled, and his lips were thin and narrow. His eye sockets were deep. He gave off a very mean impression. This was indeed the case. He held his tea, glanced indifferently at the beast core in the Foundation establishment realm on the table, and said, "Young Master Wang, this is the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion's touring auction. We only sell the world's top treasures. If this beast core in the Foundation establishment realm is brought to auction, it would lower our auction's prestige." Wang Chengjian's face stiffened slightly. He added, "Vice President Su, this is not an ordinary Foundation establishment beast core. This demon beast was very close to reaching the core formation realm. The demon core is different from ordinary ones." Su Xianquan took a sip of tea indifferently. He said blandly, "Very close to reaching the core formation realm. But it's still in the Foundation establishment realm, isn't it? Young Master Wang, please take this to some store in the market to sell. When you have a core formation beast core, then come back." Wang Qingxian came confidently but left quite dejectedly. Especially in front of Liu Qingxian. He felt very embarrassed. He reluctantly said, "In that case, I bid you farewell." After a pause, he remembered his primary purpose for coming, which was to inquire about a spirit pill in the core formation realm for Liu Qingxian. He then said, "By the way, Vice President Su, this young lady is the daughter of our Green Cloud sect master. She is currently looking for a spirit pill in the core formation realm. I wonder if this auction has any available." Su Xianquan's expression hardened and he said, "That is confidential information of the auction. The president forbids leaking, I cannot tell you." Once again, they faced cold treatment. Wang Qingxian had no more face to stay. He grabbed his demon core, saying, "Junior sister Liu, let's go." Liu Qingxian also resigned herself to getting up. This Vice President Su was really difficult to deal with, arrogant and rude. It seemed impossible to learn any inside information, so she also prepared to leave. As she bent over, the Gale Pearl, which was too large and buried in her collar, slipped out and hung in the air in front of her chest. She quickly grabbed it, trying to tuck it back in. But the calm tea-drinking Su Xianquan's eyes suddenly sharpened, and he sprang up, asking in astonishment, "Miss Liu, can you let this old man take a look at the bead on your neck?" Liu Qingxian was momentarily puzzled. A gift from Jiang Fan? At the time, she had been angry and hadn't even listened to Jiang Fan's introduction of the item. She hesitantly took it off and handed it to Su Xianquan. Su Xianquan held it in his palm, inspecting it closely. Finally, after infusing a bit of spiritual power, a wisp of black smoke rose from the bead's surface. His pupils contracted, and his old face lit up with joy. Liu Qingxian was even more puzzled. "Vice President Su, is this item very valuable?" Su Xianquan played with the Gale Pearl. Upon hearing, he was stunned and looked surprised. "You wear this item on you but don't know what it is." Liu Qingxian looked perplexed. She shook her head slightly and said, "A gift from a friend, I forgot what it is." "A gift?" Su Xianquan was astonished. His eyes flashed as he probed. "Miss Liu, this friend of yours must be very wealthy or noble, right?" "Wealthy or noble." "Jiang Fan, someone who went out to hunt demon beasts without even decent resources." She shook her head, took back the Gale Pearl and hung it around her neck again, saying, "Vice President Su, what exactly is this?" Su Xianquan reluctantly looked at the Gale Pearl. His previous arrogance changed as he rubbed his hands and said, "Miss Liu, this is the Gale Pearl. It is the eye of the white crystal beast, a rare demon beast of the demon emperor's bloodline. Once activated, it can make you as light as a swallow, as if you had mastered an advanced movement technique. Market price 10,000 crystals." "What?" Liu Qingxian's beautiful snow-like eyes widened as she held the greenish gem, exclaiming, "How much? 10,000 crystals." 10,000 crystals, even for the daughter of a sect master like her. That was an astronomical number. Su Xianquan waved his hand. 10,000 crystals is the market price. This item, however, is priceless. In an auction, it would fetch far more than 10,000. What? Liu Qingxian looked at the Gale Pearl again and again, unable to believe. "Vice President Su, are you sure you're not mistaken?" "This is just an ordinary gift. How could it be such an expensive treasure?" Su Xianquan said meaningfully. "It's impossible to be mistaken. What's possible is that Miss Liu doesn't seem to understand the strength of that friend of yours. To casually give a priceless treasure worth 10,000 crystals. This is no ordinary person." Liu Qingxian was left speechless. Jiang Fan actually gave her a treasure of incalculable value. This stirred countless waves in her heart. To give such an expensive gift for no reason. Was he trying to express something? At this thought, her heart began to race. "Junior sister, which senior gave this to you?" Wang Qingxian asked nervously. For no apparent reason, who would give her such a precious gift? Even those few elders couldn't be so generous, right? Su Xianquan also smiled and said, "Miss Liu, could you introduce me to this distinguished person?" He noticed that this Gale Pearl was quite fresh, taken down not long ago. It indicated that this person might have just slain it. He might have another Gale Pearl and other equally valuable demon beast materials. Their questions brought Liu Qingxian back to her senses, just as she was about to refuse and keep Jiang Fan's secret. Out of nowhere, she froze in place. Jiang Fan was walking in with a woman in her 30s, coming straight to Su Xianquan. He delivered himself to the door. "Vice President Su." When Shengnan returned, looking exuberant. Su Xianquan, who had been smiling just a moment ago, turned sour upon seeing Wen Shengnan. He asked coldly, "How did it go in the city?" When Shengnan cupped her hands, "Mission accomplished." "Is that so?" Su Xianquan raised an eyebrow. "Did you find something good? Show me." Wen Shengnan quickly turned to Jiang Fan, junior brother Jiang, show Vice President Su. This time he was confident that Su Xianquan would acknowledge it. This would somewhat ease the crisis. Jiang Fan nodded and did not immediately take out the white crystal beast. For some reason, he felt an oddly mocking look in Su Xianquan's eyes toward Wen Shengnan. So he only took out the sky-shaking powder to test the situation first. Seeing this, Su Xianquan showed a hint of surprise. Sky-shaking powder. Not bad, you did find something good. Su Xianquan took the sky-shaking powder, carefully evaluated it for a while, then said, and its purity is very high with no impurities. It seems to have been refined by a soul master. In any case, it's a good item. Wen Shengnan found it strange. This item hadn't been refined by anyone else. It was solely done by Jiang Fan. But this oddity was quickly forgotten in her pleasant mood. She looked hopeful and said, Vice President Su, can this be auctioned? Su Xianquan nodded, then suddenly changed the subject and called out to the door. Meng Tingting, come over here. Soon, a charmingly dressed woman in a red dress walked in with a smile, bowed, and said, Vice President Su, what can I do for you? Su Xianquan gestured to the sky-shaking powder in his hand. You did well. You found sky-shaking powder. I will credit you with a major contribution. Take this young master to discuss the specifics. As he spoke, he gave Jiang Fan a warm smile. Liu Qingxian frowned slightly, stealing credit. Though this was common in the martial path realm, such a blatant theft was rare. It made Wen Shengnan doubt her ears. She quickly said, Vice President Su, young Master Jiang is someone I brought. Why give credit to Meng Tingting? Su Xianquan replied coldly. Meng Tingting needs a bit more credit to be promoted to 5-star chief. You, as a 1-star chief, whether you have more or less credit, it doesn't matter. What? Wen Shengnan couldn't bear it anymore. This kind of thing had happened many times before. Otherwise, she would have been a 2-star chief long ago. Vice President Su, I don't agree. Su Xianquan didn't care about her. Don't agree, huh? It's just as well I have something to announce. I don't keep idle people under my command. I've already applied to the president to transfer you out from under me. The president has agreed and transferred you to Vice President Chen's command. From now on, you're no longer my chief. If you have any grievances, take them to Vice President Chen. What? Transfer her directly to Vice President Chen, whose performance had always been poor. That was equivalent to crushing her future. Even more infuriating, she was transferred and had her credit stolen before leaving. But she was just a chief. No matter how aggrieved, she didn't dare to speak up. She could only hold back her tears and leave in anger. Jiang Fan watched coldly. He immediately took back the sky-shaking powder from Su Xianquan and chased after Wen Shengnan. Senior sister Wen, wait. This Su Xianquan, his character was truly questionable. Jiang Fan was worried that any auction treasures would be embezzled by him. Moreover, Wen Shengnan was Wen Hongyao's niece. Out of respect for Wen Hongyao, he had to support Wen Shengnan. I'll go with you to see Vice President Chen. I'll help you secure a token of allegiance. He planned to bring out some Beast King materials so that Wen Shengnan could gain a foothold with the new supervisor. When Shengnan felt greatly comforted with a hint of a sob, she gratefully said, Thank you, junior brother Jiang. Meng Tingting, seeing that her prize was flying away, hurried over and intimately grabbed his arm. Her full chest deliberately rubbed against his arm as she whined, Young Master Jiang, let's discuss this nicely. The sky-shaking powder will still be auctioned no matter who gets it. Let's find somewhere private and talk it over slowly, okay? She spoke seductively with a tempting tone. Outrageous! Jiang Fan felt disgusted, shook his body, and made her fall to the ground with a thud. She gasped in pain. The outrageous one is you. Su Xianquan quickly helped Meng Tingting up and glared angrily. I, Su Xianquan, showed you favor by wanting your sky-shaking powder. But you don't appreciate it. When I contact the owner of the white crystal beast, your sky-shaking powder might not even be qualified for auction. Jiang Fan paused for a moment. Noticing the gale pearl on Liu Qingxian's neck, he suddenly understood. He said meaningfully, no need. You won't be able to contact him. With that, he left with Wen Shengnan to see Vice President Chen. Su Xianquan, glaring at Jiang Fan's back, muttered, refusing a toast only to be forced to drink. My things. Only Vice President Chen with no achievements would fancy your sky-shaking powder. Here, good things are as common as dirt. He took several deep breaths to calm himself. Then he put on a smile again and said sincerely, Miss Liu, please tell me who that distinguished person is who gave you the gift. I wish to visit and pay my respects. Please give me a chance. Liu Qingxian's face had already turned cold, trying to seduce Jiang Fan but cursing him when it failed. Upon hearing Su Xianquan's request, she couldn't help but smile gloatingly. That distinguished person, didn't he just leave? Just left, Su Xianquan froze for a moment. Wasn't it just Wen Shengnan and the young Green Cloud sect disciple she brought over? Wait, he exclaimed. The Gale Pearl around your neck, did young Master Jiang just give it to you? Seeing his shocked expression, Liu Qingxian felt a bit vindicated. Teasingly, she said, Vice President Su, you just handed a client bearing great treasures to Vice President Chen. With that, she lifted her snow-white neck and walked away with a big smile on her face. Wang Chengjian's face was dark. He had never imagined. That Gale Pearl was actually given by Jiang Fan. Where did he get it from? Someone must have given it to him. How could he possibly kill the white crystal beast on his own? Meanwhile, Wen Shengnan, with reddened eyes, arrived shamefully at Vice President Chen's place. Vice President Chen was a beautiful woman in her 50s, with a name as beautiful as her, Chen Luoyu. In terms of qualifications and connections, she was far inferior to Vice President Su. Therefore, at the traveling auctions in various places, Vice President Su easily gathered a large number of valuable auction items. In contrast, she had very few. She had long accepted her fate. At this moment, she was instructing her two overseers. Alan, you go visit Elder Zhao from Carefree Peak. I have met him a few times. Ask him on my behalf if he has any items for auction. Xiaochen, you go to the Luo family. They are a big family in the city and must have valuable treasures. Overseer Xiaochen looked troubled. Vice President Chen, the Luo family, Yuner has already communicated. They are willing to bring out some heirlooms for auction. But she was transferred to President Su. If I go to the Luo family again, they might not entertain me. Just then, when Shengnan arrived, feeling anxious and bowing at the door, Vice President Chen, subordinate Wen Shengnan, reporting. Alan and Xiaochen, upon hearing this, pursed their lips. Vice President Su is too much. Taking away our Vice President's most capable subordinate, Yuner, is one thing, but transferring his most incompetent subordinate to us is another. Our days ahead will be increasingly difficult. A trace of deep helplessness also crossed Chen Luoyu's graceful and elegant face. What could she do? Su Xianquan was more experienced. The president favored him in everything. Come in, Vice President Chen sighed. She didn't blame Wen Shengnan for anything. The transfer of overseers was beyond Wen Shengnan's control. Wen Shengnan walked in cautiously, feeling the rejection from the other two overseers, aware that she needed to bring some achievements. Otherwise, it would be difficult to gain their approval in the future. Vice President Chen, I have brought a guest who has something he wants to consign for auction. Oh, Chen Luoyu's eyes lit up. She quickly regained her composure, her eyes dimmed. Wen Shengnan had obviously taken this person to Su Xianquan first. If his treasure was truly valuable, how could Su Xianquan let it go? Most likely, Su Xianquan didn't find it worthwhile. Wen Shengnan then brought it to try her luck here, hoping she would find it valuable. Thinking of this, she lost interest. She had no intention of appraising it. To avoid embarrassing Wen Shengnan, she said, "Let him in." Wen Shengnan immediately informed Jiang Fan outside the door. Jiang Fan walked in, cupping his fist. I am Jiang Fan, meeting Vice President Chen. Catching sight of the visitor, a young disciple confirmed her suspicions. Unenthusiastically, she asked, Young Master Jiang, what do you want to consign for auction with us? Jiang Fan took out only the sky-shaking powder to test Chen Luoyu's character. Chen Luoyu's vision was no less than Su Xianquan's. With just one glance, she recognized it. Her spirit suddenly lifted, showing a look of surprise. Sky-shaking powder. And of very high purity, it's a rare item. Alan, quickly serve tea for young Master Jiang. Alan quickly stood up to greet him. She no longer looked at Wen Shengnan with the same disdain as before. Wen Shengnan let out a slight sigh of relief. Feeling increasingly grateful to Jiang Fan for his support, otherwise today would have been very embarrassing. Please sit, young Master Jiang. Chen Luoyu warmly greeted Jiang Fan, asking, What price do you have in mind? Jiang Fan said, 10,000. Chen Luoyu carefully examined the sky-shaking powder for a moment, saying, Too little. This item should fetch 12 to 13,000. If you trust me, I will arrange for this item to be put up for auction. Also, the handling fee can be reduced a bit. Seeing her so sincere, Jiang Fan felt relieved. He could entrust her with the materials of the Beast King. At this moment, Su Xianquan came rushing over anxiously. Young Master Jiang. He ran over, panting, saying, We can discuss this, let's discuss it properly. Jiang Fan said indifferently, There is nothing to discuss between us. I support Senior Sister Wen, that's why I came to the auction house. Wherever she goes, I will go. Su Xianquan regretted deeply. Knowing that Wen Shengnan had brought back a big patron, he wouldn't have transferred her away for anything. He hurriedly said, "Then I will go and ask the president to transfer her back immediately. I implore young Master Jiang to give us a chance." Bang, Chen Luoyu could no longer bear it. She slammed her palm on the table. "Su Xianquan, you are going too far. It's just some sky-shaking powder. Is it worth going to such lengths?" In the past, she tolerated him throwing his weight around. This time, he had transferred her most capable subordinate and foisted his underperforming subordinate onto her. Now, with that subordinate bringing in a bit of merit, Su Xianquan wanted to take it back. What did he take her, Chen Luoyu, for? What she couldn't bear the most was, when Shengnan had brought only the sky-shaking powder, although it was valuable, it was not a priceless treasure. Was it worth it to snatch such merit? Su Xianquan was suffering in silence. Was a bit of sky-shaking powder worth such a fuss? He was aiming for the materials of the Beast King in Jiang Fan's hands, so he humbly said, "Vice President Chen, this time it is my fault. How about this? I will transfer a few treasures under your account. I just hope you allow Wen Shengnan to return." Chen Luoyu's face remained stern. Was this a matter of merits? It was a matter of respect or lack thereof for her. Wen Shengnan also spoke up at this point, requesting, "Vice President Chen, I don't want to go back. Please don't agree." A good horse does not turn to graze on old pastures. Moreover, if she returned, she wouldn't be utilized well. She would merely be making a wedding dress for Meng Tingting. In her anxious state, Chen Luoyu finally refused Su Xianquan, saying expressionlessly, "Shengnan just came under my command. It makes no sense to transfer her again." "All right, I have a guest to entertain. I won't be seeing you out, Vice President Su." Su Xianquan's face stiffened, displeased. "Vice President Chen, are you really not giving me this face?" Chen Luoyu's delicate brows furrowed. What was truly going on here? Was Su Xianquan really ready to fall out with her over some sky-shaking powder? Was it worth it? Seeing all this and determined that Chen Luoyu was trustworthy, Jiang Fan untied a small bundle, saying, "Vice President Chen, I have some materials here I would like you to help consign." Chen Luoyu was taken aback. More items? How come Wen Shengnan didn't mention this? She looked at Wen Shengnan, who seemed even more bewildered. But considering that he hadn't shown them first, the value was probably lower than the sky-shaking powder. She nodded slightly. "Okay, open it and let's take a look." Under everyone's focus, Jiang Fan opened the bundle. A bright green orb came into view. Su Xianquan's breathing was rapid. Another Gale Pearl? It really was another Gale Pearl. This young man indeed had materials from the white crystal beast. Wen Shengnan didn't recognize it at first and was momentarily stunned. "What is this, junior brother Jiang?" Chen Luoyu, on the other hand, had her beautiful eyes rounded. Covering her red lips, she couldn't believe it. Could this be the legendary eye of the white crystal beast with the demon emperor's bloodline? The natural high-grade magical artifact, the Gale Pearl? Ah, Wen Shengnan gasped. The Gale Pearl, the one worth 10,000 crystal stones by legend. She looked at Jiang Fan in shock, finally understanding why Jiang Fan said he would help her make an entrance. This Gale Pearl was enough to be the finale item at this auction, and she who found such a client undoubtedly had the greatest merit. Jiang Fan nodded and said, "Vice President Chen, are you interested?" Chen Luoyu snapped back to reality. Finally, she understood why Su Xianquan was in such a hurry to get Wen Shengnan back. Because Wen Shengnan had brought a wealthy benefactor. She hurriedly nodded, her face brimming with undisguised delight. Of course. Thank you, young Master Jiang, for your trust. I will certainly sell this for a great price." Immediately. She also realized, like Su Xianquan, that this eyeball was very fresh. This indicated that the other party still had other treasures. The white crystal beast was a treasure trove. Everything was priceless. She hoped eagerly. "Young Master Jiang, do you have anything else you want to auction?" Jiang Fan replied without hesitation. "Not for now." He only sold one Gale Pearl to get some money to buy the Yellow Springs purifying water. The remaining essence meat, beast whip, and stomach could be kept for later use. No need to convert everything into crystal stones. For now, Chen Luoyu naturally heard the underlying meaning and said joyfully, "All right, then for now we'll only consign the Gale Pearl." As for the future, she looked at Wen Shengnan with a strong smile. "Shengnan, I will request the president to promote you to 3-star chief." Since Jiang Fan clearly said that wherever Wen Shengnan went, he would follow. She just needed to keep Wen Shengnan close, and there would be no worry about Jiang Fan coming back to support them. Wen Shengnan was overwhelmed with joy. 3-star chief. Me, after years of diligent work, she was still a pitiable 1-star chief. Even a promotion to 2-star chief was far away. Now, just because she brought Jiang Fan as a client, her career soared skyward. She quickly bowed. "Thank you, Vice President Chen, for the promotion." Then she solemnly bowed to Jiang Fan, grateful from the bottom of her heart. "Thank you, young Master Jiang, for your great kindness." Jiang Fan waved his hand and said, "No need to be polite. I am an old acquaintance of your aunt." At this moment, Wen Shengnan was also filled with infinite gratitude towards her aunt. She brought her a great benefactor destined for her life. Suddenly, Wen Shengnan remembered Jiang Fan's purpose and hurriedly said, "Vice President Chen, young Master Jiang is here to bid for the Yellow Springs purifying water." Chen Luoyu realized and did not hide. The Yellow Springs purifying water is indeed part of this auction. Moreover, it was entrusted to me by an elder of the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion. Got it, then she was reassured. Jiang Fan said, "I will come back during the official auction." Chen Luoyu's beautiful eyes flashed as she thought of doing Jiang Fan a favor. "Young Master Jiang, how much Yellow Springs purifying water do you need?" When the elder entrusted it to me, he gave a small bottle of Yellow Springs purifying water as a gift. "If young Master Jiang doesn't need much, I shall give it to you." The Yellow Springs purifying water was indeed valuable, but its usage was very niche, and she had little use for it. Besides, it was only a small bottle at most. It could sell for 700 or 800 crystal stones. It was better to give it to Jiang Fan as a favor. Jiang Fan's eyes lit up and he said, "Just 10 drops will be enough." Chen Luoyu searched her sleeve for a small black medicine bottle and threw it to him. "It's yours." Jiang Fan caught it. It felt heavy, as if he was holding a small bottle of gold rather than liquid. Opening it, he saw clear, viscous drops inside. It was indeed the Yellow Springs purifying water. He was delighted. Without waiting for the official auction, he could now refine the pathway powder. But not wanting to owe Chen Luoyu a favor, he pondered briefly and said, "Vice President Chen, do you have a secret room I can borrow for a while?" Chen Luoyu didn't know what Jiang Fan intended to do, but such a small request, she naturally agreed. Thus, Jiang Fan entered the secret room with the demon core of the white crystal beast and the Yellow Springs purifying water. Chen Luoyu was in a great mood. Outside the secret room, she sipped spirit fruit tea and chatted enthusiastically with Wen Shengnan. This made Alan and Xiaorachan immensely envious. It had been a long time since they saw Vice President Chen so happy with a subordinate. The reason was that Wen Shengnan brought an astonishing client. "Shengnan, how did you meet young Master Jiang?" Chen Luoyu asked curiously. Wen Shengnan dared not hide anything, so she explained how they met. After hearing it, Chen Luoyu clicked her tongue in wonder. "I heard that your aunt is difficult to get along with and treats juniors harshly. Yet she treats young Master Jiang with such warmth." Wen Shengnan agreed deeply. "Isn't it? Aunt said he was capable, and I didn't believe it at first. Later, I was completely convinced. In the way of refining medicine, he has unparalleled talent, even surpassing my aunt." Chen Luoyu was deeply impressed. But then she showed a look of surprise. "But what is he doing now? Yellow Springs purifying water is only needed by soul masters for alchemy. Usually, only soul masters of various sects would send disciples to bid for it." Wen Shengnan also looked puzzled. "That I do not know. Could it be that, besides being good at refining medicine, he's also a soul master?" She couldn't help but laugh at the thought. Are soul masters that common? Which soul master wasn't treasured and treated like an ancestor by great powers? If Jiang Fan were a soul master, would he still need to be a disciple? He could directly enjoy the treatment of an elder in the Green Cloud sect. Chen Luoyu also teased, "You really know how to dream to have a soul master support you like this." Even she was not qualified to interact with those lofty soul masters. Creak, at this moment, the stone door opened. Jiang Fan held 2 jade bottles in his hand. He put one back into his pocket. The other he placed in front of Chen Luoyu, saying, "As a token of thanks, this bottle of spiritual medicine is for you, 50-50 split." Using the materials just now, he had produced 2 bottles of pathway powder. Chen Luoyu provided the Yellow Springs purifying water, so she deserved 1/4. That settled their accounts. With that, Jiang Fan left. Chen Luoyu looked at the medicine bottle left by Jiang Fan with a puzzled expression. Wen Shengnan also looked curiously. "What is this? I've never seen it before." Chen Luoyu examined it carefully, but even with her experience, she couldn't recognize it. "It looks familiar, like I've seen it in a book." She closed her eyes and tried hard to recall. Suddenly, she opened her eyes wide, her face showing intense astonishment. Then she grabbed Wen Shengnan's shoulders tightly, her eyes burning as if to melt Wen Shengnan. She hastily said, "Shengnan, who did you bring back for me?" Wen Shengnan was terrified by her actions. He thought it was the medicine bottle that had gone wrong, nervously saying, Vice President, please calm down." "Did I do something wrong?" How could Chen Luoyu calm down? Her chest was violently heaving, and her face was brimming with excitement as she still tightly grabbed Wen Shengnan, shaking her, saying, "You didn't do anything wrong. You did excellent, truly excellent. I will immediately go to the president to apply for your promotion to 5-star chief, and when I step down as vice president, you will take over directly." "What?" Alan and Xiaochen, standing by her side, were so shocked their jaws almost dropped. Wen Shengnan's application for 3-star chief had not yet been approved, and now she was going to be promoted from 1-star chief directly to 5-star chief, and also become the designated successor of the vice president, not to mention them. Even Wen Shengnan herself was flabbergasted. She even suspected that Chen Luoyu might have gone mad. "Vice President, what on earth is going on?" Chen Luoyu finally let go of her. She picked up the medicine bottle, held it in the palm of her hand, and her eyes kept glowing. "Do you know what this is?" Wen Shengnan shook her head. "What could it be to make Vice President Chen so crazy? Could it be some deadly poison?" "It's pathway powder, the legendary pathway powder," Chen Luoyu shouted excitedly. She had only seen it in an ancient book, so she didn't recognize it at first. It's a kind of long-lost spiritual medicine. No one can refine it today. Wen Shengnan was puzzled. "Pathway powder? My knowledge is limited. What is this powder for?" "Breaking through the core formation stage." Chen Luoyu replied with 4 words. Wen Shengnan's pupils gradually contracted until they were as small as a needle's tip. Her body trembled violently as she staggered back and fell onto a rock, not even feeling the pain. Her mind went blank. Isn't the elixir for breaking through the core formation realm something only 3-star soul masters possess? Jiang Fan is a... Chen Luoyu swiftly covered her mouth, sternly saying, "Do you want to reveal his identity?" Not to mention whether this would offend the other party. Once exposed, there would be countless people currying favor, and they would have no place left. Wen Shengnan quickly realized this. She immediately kept quiet, but her body continued to tremble. "So all this time, the one supporting me was A." Thinking of this, she felt her whole body become light as if she were walking on cotton. Chen Luoyu was extremely jealous, saying, "Your Wen family must have benefited immensely from your ancestors to associate with such a powerful figure. When you rise to power in the future, don't forget to lift me up." Forming a connection with a 3-star soul master, it's hard not to soar to great heights. This was why she promoted Wen Shengnan immediately. Meanwhile, Jiang Fan returned with the pathway powder in hand, just as he stepped onto the sex stairs. He was suddenly pulled into a corner by Liu Qingxian. She removed the Gale Pearl from her neck, stuffed it into Jiang Fan's hand, and said solemnly, "This is too precious, I can't accept it." After much thought, she decided to return it to Jiang Fan. This item was just too valuable. She couldn't accept it. Jiang Fan was stunned, saying, "Why? Did she not accept it before? Why return it now?" Liu Qingxian stuttered. This item was worth 10,000 crystal stones. It was enough to be her dowry. Why did Jiang Fan give such a thing to her? Unable to understand, she returned it, saying, "Anyway, I will not accept it." "All right then." Jiang Fan did not insist. He took out 2 martial soul coins, saying, "Let's go to the martial soul hall. I will do my best to help you defeat Nangong Xiaoyan." To improve Liu Qingxian's strength, effort must be made on her realm as well as her cultivation techniques. The martial soul hall can help complete her cultivation techniques. If Liu Qingxian has any fragmented moves, he can try to help her comprehend them together. However, Liu Qingxian's attention was immediately drawn to the 2 martial soul coins. "How do you have another one?" One of them was indeed hers, but where did the other come from? Jiang Fan scratched his head, saying, "Elder Li Qingfeng gave it to me." Liu Qingxian was incredulous. "Elder Li has no good impression of you. With only 1 martial soul coin, he would never give it to you." Jiang Fan thought for a moment and said, "Could it be because I helped his disciples Su Yoren and Chen Silin achieve great gains in the Holy Hall, and this is his reward?" Liu Qingxian couldn't help but recall Su Yoren's aggressive behavior, her face turning cold. "So she made significant progress in the Holy Hall." Jiang Fan nodded. She broke through from the first layer of foundation establishment to the 3rd layer of foundation establishment. Quite impressive. "Creak." Liu Qingxian was furious. She worked hard to help Jiang Fan earn martial soul coins, but he was aiding other women to improve their strength. This is outrageous. She glanced at the Gale Pearl in Jiang Fan's hand and snatched it back, putting it around her neck again. She gritted her teeth, saying, "This is what I deserve." No matter Jiang Fan's intentions, she just wore it, so what? Let's go to the Martial Soul Hall. Jiang Fan touched his nose. What was wrong with her again, who had angered her? They arrived at the Martial Soul Hall. This place was usually deserted because an elder only receives 1 coin a year. However, today someone else was present, and they were none other than Nangong Xiaoyan and Nie Yunxi. What use do you have coming to the Martial Soul Hall? Isn't your cultivation technique the best at the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion? Nie Yunxi followed behind, helpless. Nangong Xiaoyan, with a bruised face, said angrily, "Since you're not helping me get revenge, I'll do it myself. I remember that fragment of a move from that scoundrel. I'm here to the Martial Soul Hall to complete it. Once I find someone using that technique, I'll expose the scoundrel." Nie Yunxi sighed helplessly. "It's not that I'm not helping you. You, a proud daughter of the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion, got beaten up within the Green Cloud sect. How could I mention it without feeling embarrassed? How can I spread this around?" He felt quite humiliated. Seeing Nangong Xiaoyan return in such a miserable state, he was also quite angry. He had thought of calling Liu Qingxian over to scold him thoroughly. But on second thought, he didn't dare to mention it at all. Wouldn't it bring shame if he spoke of it? "I don't care. I must find out who this scoundrel is. Daring to beat me like this, I won't let it go. HMPH. Nangong Xiaoyan stamped her foot, grinding her teeth. Suddenly, she looked up to find Liu Qingxian and Jiang Fan standing in front of the hall. She stared at them with a strange look on her face. Liu Qingxian was surprised and almost didn't recognize Nangong Xiaoyan. "Who beat you up?" She was astonished. Nangong Xiaoyan had broken through to the core formation realm. Besides a core formation realm elder who could beat her like this. But why would a core formation realm elder hit her? Jiang Fan was also surprised. "Nangong Xiaoyan, who beat your face like that?" When they saw her in Cloud Sun City, wasn't she still quite pretty? Who hit her so hard, made her face so bruised and swollen? Nangong Xiaoyan's expression froze, quickly saying, Who said I was beaten up by someone? I accidentally fell." "Yes, I fell." Nie Yunxi's old face was stiff, still being seen. He awkwardly changed the subject, looked at Jiang Fan and smiled. "Young friend, what brings you here?" Jiang Fan pointed to Liu Qingxian beside him, saying, accompanying her in her cultivation. Nangong Xiaoyan was instantly dissatisfied. In her and Nie Yunxi's understanding, Jiang Fan was considered an elder-level figure. He just appeared young. Him accompanying Liu Qingxian to the Martial Soul Hall was obviously guiding her. "Vice Pavilion Master, you should guide me too." "That would be fair." Nie Yunxi was both crying and laughing. However, since Liu Qingxian did not comply with the code of conduct and invited an elder of the sect to guide her, he could only put aside his pride and guide Nangong Xiaoyan properly. He was confident. As for the comprehension of cultivation techniques, Jiang Fan was definitely far behind him. Jiang Fan couldn't help but frown. Nangong Xiaoyan was already so formidable, yet the Vice Pavilion Master of the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion was personally advising her. Isn't this a bit unsporting? It seemed that he had to fully assist Liu Qingxian. Otherwise, it would be too difficult for her to win. The group of 4 entered the Martial Soul Hall. Inside, there were ancient statues exuding immense majesty. Liu Qingxian was there to accompany Jiang Fan for training, her attention entirely on him. She introduced, "Standing in front of the statue, it will project an apparition to spar with you. If your fragmented move is incomplete and this statue happens to have it, it will fill it in for you. But be aware, the cultivation technique appears in layers. Only after finishing the first layer will the next layer appear. The maximum time one can stay in the Martial Soul Hall is 3 days. How many layers you can learn depends on your comprehension." Jiang Fan nodded thoughtfully. So it wasn't entirely about completing the cultivation technique. One also needed strong comprehension. "Let's go to the other side." Jiang Fan glanced at Nangong Xiaoyan and Nie Yunxi, then pulled Liu Qingxian to a spot behind a statue. Liu Qingxian's heart slightly raced. She broke free from his hand and murmured unnaturally, "If we're going to train, why be so secretive?" Jiang Fan discreetly took out some pathway powder, stuffed it into her hand, and whispered in her ear, "Try it out first, see if you can break through to the core formation realm." Feeling the warm breath in her ear, Liu Qingxian's body stiffened. Her heartbeat quickened. She tried to steady herself and asked, "What's in this bottle?" "Pathway powder, a spiritual medicine for breaking through to the core formation realm." Jiang Fan replied, "What?" Liu Qingxian was shocked. She screamed, "Break through to the core forma, Jiang Fan quickly covered her lips and said, "Do you really want Nangong Xiaoyan to hear?" He was speechless. He had brought Liu Qingxian to a secluded corner because he wanted her to secretly break through to the core formation realm, so that when they faced off in the future, it would catch the opponent off guard. This would increase his chances of winning by a bit. Now it was too late. It's likely that Nanggong Xiaoyan already heard it couldn't be hidden anymore. Oh, Yu Yunxi indeed sensed it, showing a look of astonishment. Liu Qingxian is breaking through to the core formation here? Nanggong Xiaoyan's eyes widened. Impossible, right? Now, how could the Green Cloud sect have spiritual pills for breaking through to the core formation realm? Within the entire nine-sect realm, all the spiritual pills for the core formation realm came from one place, the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion. After all, it's a third-grade spirit pill, and ordinary one-star or two-star soul masters simply couldn't refine it. And it had been years since the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion produced such spirit pills. Where on earth did the Green Cloud sect get it from? Nanggong Xiaoyan muttered. Could it be a tactic to disturb my cultivation? Yu Yunxi slowly nodded. Train diligently. Even if there really is a spirit pill, breaking through to the core formation realm is not guaranteed. The pill has at most a 30% chance. On the other side, Liu Qingxian realized her mistake, stuck out her tongue in embarrassment. She failed to notice that Jiang Fan's hand was still covering her mouth. When she stuck out her tongue, it touched Jiang Fan's palm. Jiang Fan felt like he'd been electrocuted. He quickly pulled back his hand. His palm tingled and made him feel strange. He coughed lightly and said, "Go ahead and take it." Liu Qingxian's face turned even redder. Her mind was in a whirl. She quickly turned her attention away and said, "All right, I'll try to break through first." The two no longer whispered. Since they were already exposed, they might as well break through openly. After swallowing a bottle of powder, Liu Qingxian immediately sat crossed-legged, running her mental method to gather the surrounding spiritual energy. The medicinal effect quickly took hold. Liu Qingxian's body emitted a huge amount of white smoke. Her skin turned a crimson red, like iron heated in a forge. A powerful aura spread and contracted around her. This was the sign of breaking through to the core formation realm. Yu Yunxi sensed it from afar and was shocked. She really is breaking through? Nanggong Xiaoyan's eyes snapped open. She was stunned. Does Jiang really have spiritual pills for the core formation realm? But why are his pills so effective? Just one pill and she can form a core. I had to take 3 pills to barely succeed. Yu Yunxi also found it incredible, muttering to himself. This elder Jiang is truly unfathomable. What he possesses must be an even more powerful kind of spirit pill. Suddenly, Yu Yunxi's expression changed slightly. No good, the breakthrough is failing. The aura is unstable. It's a sign of insufficient gathered spiritual energy, indicating a failed core formation. She either needs a very strong mental method or be in a place with extremely dense spiritual energy. Otherwise, failure is unavoidable. Yet now it was too late to change locations for the breakthrough. As for the mental method, it was even more unlikely. What a pity, Yu Yunxi sighed. Liu Qingxian herself felt the situation, her face anxious. She was just a step away from breaking through to the core formation realm. It was the closest she had ever been over the years. Now she just lacked sufficient spiritual energy. No matter how hard she tried to absorb more spiritual energy, it was far from enough to meet the needs of core formation. The spiritual energy required for core formation was much more than expected. Jiang Fan also saw the danger. It seemed that Liu Qingxian's mental method couldn't support the spiritual energy needed for core formation. Stay calm, keep cultivating, leave the rest to me. Jiang Fan placed his palm on her head, and his transparent spirit root silently began to function. The powerful spirit root, like a towering tree with countless roots, gathered all the surrounding spiritual energy. In an instant, the spiritual energy density increased several times, almost forming a mist, and the spiritual energy kept gathering. In such a vast amount of spiritual energy, even though Liu Qingxian's mental method was slightly lacking, any absorption now was several times more effective than before. Thus, her dissipating aura reappeared and continued to strengthen. The seemingly failing core formation was successfully salvaged. Yu Yunxi, witnessing this scene, was filled with shock. He gasped. What a terrifying spirit root. It can draw such an enormous cloud of spiritual energy. Nanggong Xiaoyan wrinkled her delicate nose, somewhat unwilling. No matter how powerful, can it be stronger than our pavilion master? Yu Yunxi's old eyes were filled with astonishment as he shook his head. In terms of strength, Elder Jiang naturally cannot compare to our pavilion master. But in terms of spirit root, it's hard to say. What? Nanggong Xiaoyan's already round eyes widened like walnuts. What, but our pavilion master has a 9-grade spirit root. 9-grade. Yu Yunxi couldn't suppress the shock in his heart, muttering, "Who exactly is this elder Jiang?" As time passed, half a day later, a faint rumbling sound came from Liu Qingxian's abdomen. It was the sign of her spirit pond breaking and transforming into an inner core. She suddenly opened her eyes. Her beautiful snowy eyes were filled with uncontrollable joy. "I've formed a core. Jiang Fan, I've formed a core." In extreme delight, she jumped up and grabbed Jiang Fan's hand, unable to contain her excitement. It was like a child receiving a long-desired toy. She expressed pure joy from the bottom of her heart. However, she suddenly realized that Jiang Fan's gaze at her body was somewhat evasive, not quite right. Lowering her head, she found herself drenched in sweat. Her long purple silk dress clung to her body, revealing her perfect figure in full detail. Her heaving chest rose and fell with her movement, creating a ripple that made one's blood boil. For she was too engrossed. She actually clutched Jiang Fan's arm, looking like she was about to embrace him. Her face instantly flushed red, and she quickly let go, turning around and huffed. "Haven't you ever seen a woman before?" Despite her embarrassment and annoyance, she felt an inexplicable sense of pride. "I'm not any worse than Su Yoren, HMPH. Jiang Fan awkwardly said, "Congratulations on your breakthrough to the core formation, senior sister. For the next few days, you should train on your own first. If you need any help, just let me know at any time." A martial soul coin could only be used for 3 days. He still had 2.5 days left. It should be enough time for him to stabilize his realm. If he was lucky enough, he might even complete that earth-level finger technique. Therefore, he immediately located a nearby statue. Standing in front of it, the statue emitted a faint red glow, enveloping Jiang Fan within it. Liu Qingxian secretly glanced over. Although she could no longer see Jiang Fan's figure, she still stared in a daze, her face still glowing with a faint blush. She touched the gale pearl around her neck. From deep within her, a vague sense of excitement arose. 2 days later, Jiang Fan had consecutively challenged dozens of statues. Each statue's projection had been exceptionally powerful. Without using the purple sword, it was very difficult for him to win. But he reaped great rewards. His realm at the 6th layer of foundation establishment had not only stabilized, but had also reached perfection. With a bit more training, he could break through to the 7th layer of foundation establishment. The only pity was, he had bad luck. He couldn't complete that earth-level finger technique. After adjusting his breath for a while, he got up to check Liu Qingxian's progress. He found her standing before a large statue, looking slightly anxious, clumsily practicing an unfamiliar cultivation technique. "Senior sister, did you manage to complete the technique?" Jiang Fan walked over with admiration. He lifted his eyes. In front of the statue, a cultivation technique condensed from light appeared. "Heavenly Battle 9 Forms, High Profound Level Technique." Jiang Fan muttered in amazement. High Profound Level techniques were considered top-tier secret arts within the Green Cloud sect. Being able to complete a whole one was a stroke of immense luck. However, Liu Qingxian discovered it too late. She had just begun her training, and there was only half a day left. Even achieving the 2nd form would be difficult, let alone the remaining 7 forms. Liu Qingxian excitedly but anxiously said, "This is a technique once practiced by a nascent soul expert. Its power is unparalleled, not inferior to your sword heart engraving. Unfortunately, it has long been lost, with only the 1st form's fragmented move remaining. I never expected that this statue would actually complete it." She only had the attitude of trying her luck. Never did she think she would truly encounter it. Jiang Fan was stunned. A technique once practiced by a nascent soul-level titan, even his heart couldn't help but stir. "I'll give it a try too." Jiang Fan carefully read the technique's content. Liu Qingxian said, "You haven't even learned the 1st form, it'll be hard to learn it." At least she had practiced the fragmented move and had a foundation. That's why she dared attempt the 2nd form. Jiang Fan had nothing at all. Half a day wouldn't be enough to comprehend the 1st form. It was just a complete waste of time. Jiang Fan said nothing and immediately began to comprehend. On the other side, Nangong Xiaoan, after persistent attempts, finally let out a shout of joy. "Ha ha, I finally completed the technique." Gazing at the statue before her, which had completed a technique titled Heavenly Ruined Finger, she let out a jubilant cheer. "Ha ha ha, you bastard, you can't escape now. Once I finish training, I will match it against each, and I will pull you out for sure." Yet, just as she wanted to comprehend it, she was shocked by the technique's description. "A lower Earth-level technique? Vice Pavilion Master, am I seeing this right?" Yu Yunxi also revealed a look of heated admiration, saying, "The Green Cloud sect actually has an Earth-level finger technique." Even within the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion, Earth-level techniques were extremely rare. Very few cultivators had them. Unfortunately, there was only half a day left. He didn't have the time to comprehend it. "Vice Pavilion Master, help me comprehend it quickly." Nangong Xiaoyan also realized time was tight and urged. Yu Yunxi smiled bitterly. "What's the use of urging me? Without 3 to 5 years, an Earth-level technique is extremely difficult to master. Let alone in half a day. I'm afraid you won't find that person." Nangong Xiaoyan clenched her fists unwillingly. At this moment, she noticed Jiang Fan was comprehending a technique and couldn't help huffing. "Vice Pavilion Master, you should learn from Elder Jiang." "He hasn't given up, has he?" Yu Yunxi's mouth twitched. "You're giving me a lecture now?" Looking up, he saw Jiang Fan comprehending a high profound level technique. He shook his head. "It's pointless. The hardest part of a technique is the beginning. If he had practiced the first layer, having a foundation, he could try the second layer. But he hasn't practiced it at all. Just understanding the technique's contents will take a long time." But before the words had barely fallen, Jiang Fan suddenly opened his eyes, circulated his spiritual power, and moved it through his body in a peculiar manner. Then he raised his palm and launched a strike forward. A dull sound resonated. The air swirled and a strong gust of wind blew. The first form successfully attained. Yu Yunxi's expression froze. He made it. Nangong Xiaoyan was also shocked. How difficult could it be to comprehend a high profound level technique? How could she not know? She was merely prodding Yu Yunxi intentionally just now and never thought that Jiang Fan could master the first form in half a day. But only a single incense stick had burned. Jiang Fan comprehended it. Liu Qingxian was also taken aback. "Jiang Fan, you..." Jiang Fan didn't speak and continued to comprehend the second form. Shortly after, he opened his eyes again and kicked out one leg. His leg was like a long whip, tracing a long afterimage, making the air crackle. Yu Yunxi and Nangong Xiaoyan were dumbfounded. "Vice Pavilion Master, how does Elder Jiang's comprehension compare to yours?" Yu Yunxi collected his shocked expression and frowned. "Do you really believe anyone could comprehend a high profound level technique so quickly?" Nangong Xiaoyan furrowed her brows. "You mean he actually practiced it before?" Yu Yunxi didn't answer, implying consent. Next, Jiang Fan cultivated swiftly. "Sky opening." He struck forward with his elbow, causing the air to buzz loudly. If it hit someone, they'd at least suffer from broken bones. So it's a close combat technique. After mastering the last form, Jiang Fan finally understood the true purpose of the Heavenly Battle 9 forms, using the body as a weapon for close combat. This close combat skill required a strong physique to be effective. Otherwise, it wouldn't have much power. Seeing Liu Qingxian still diligently comprehending the second form, he couldn't help but advise, "Why not change to a different technique? This one isn't very suitable for women." Having watched Jiang Fan complete the entire set, Liu Qingxian also realized that the technique passed down by the nascent soul expert wasn't suitable for her. But after finally encountering a high profound level technique, she didn't want to miss it. "Little friend Jiang, are you interested in comprehending this earth-level technique?" Yu Yunxi smiled meaningfully. He absolutely did not believe Jiang Fan was genuinely comprehending earlier. He had certainly practiced it before. To verify his guess was simple. Let Jiang Fan try this earth-level technique. If he learned even a bit of it, Yu Yunxi would admit that Jiang Fan's comprehension surpassed his own. "Oh," Jiang Fan curiously walked over. Once he saw it, he was surprised. A lower earth-level technique, Heavenly Ruined Finger. Looking further at the contents, Jiang Fan was even more astonished. Isn't this the finger technique he had comprehended from the mock stone wall? Nangong Xiaoyan huffed angrily. "The person who hit me used this finger technique. If you can help me comprehend it and catch that person, I'll reward you handsomely." Jiang Fan's whole body stiffened. "Wait, the person who hit Nangong Xiaoyan was me." "No way. Was it me who beat Nangong Xiaoyan black and blue?" Seeing Jiang Fan's strange expression, Nangong Xiaoyan asked suspiciously, "What's wrong? Have you seen this finger technique?" Jiang Fan quickly shook his head. "Never seen it, of course. I've never seen it." How could he dare to admit that? That day, relying on the mist to cover him, this girl couldn't exert her real strength and kept shouting, revealing her position. This way, Jiang Fan could move freely with his movement technique, teaching her a lesson punch after punch. If it were a direct fight, the one black and blue would probably have been Jiang Fan himself. Nangong Xiaoyan didn't suspect too much either. In her mind, Jiang Fan still seemed very polite. not like a ruthless thug. So can you comprehend it? Nangong Xiaoyan wasn't very hopeful, because only 2 hours were left. Even an immortal couldn't possibly comprehend it, right? Jiang Fan touched his nose, saying, it shouldn't be a problem. Understanding an earth-level cultivation technique was indeed challenging. Even someone like him felt the pressure. But the point was, he already knew the first form. Now he just needed to learn the second form. Because once the content of the third form appeared, he just needed to remember it and could continue comprehending it any time outside the martial soul hall. Liu Yunxi exclaimed, "Little friend Jiang, are you sure you understand this is an earth-level technique?" Jiang Fan said, "I'll give it a try." Then he started pretending to comprehend it. An hour later, he operated his spiritual power and pointed a finger through the air. Whoosh! The immensely powerful finger force sparked the air. The finger force pierced through and struck the distant wall, leaving a through-and-through hole. Hiss! Liu Yunxi took a deep breath, shocked. You actually comprehended it." If Jiang Fan had previously trained a high profound level technique, he couldn't have also trained an earth-level technique beforehand, right? Wait a minute, Liu Yunxi squinted his eyes. Could it be you trained this fragmented technique beforehand? In other words, it was him who beat Nangong Xiaoyan black and blue. Jiang Fan felt a tingle on his scalp and quickly said, "Vice Pavilion Master, you're overthinking." Then he started to comprehend the second form that appeared. Time ticked away bit by bit. Seeing that time was running out, Jiang Fan still didn't seem to comprehend it. Liu Yunxi grew more suspicious, but just as the ending bell rang, Jiang Fan suddenly opened his eyes. "Purple energy comes from the east," he pointed through the air again. A beam of purple light shot out from his index finger. This move was several times stronger than the first. If he encountered a beast king like the white crystal beast again, he was confident that this finger could pierce its body, inflicting severe damage. Jiang Fan showed a joyful expression, but Liu Yunxi took a sharp breath. "Little friend Jiang, you." He was already too shocked to speak. In just an hour and a half, he comprehended a layer of an earth-level technique. For normal people, it would take at least a year and a half. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he wouldn't believe it even if you killed him. Nangong Xiaoyan was also amazed and whispered, "Vice Pavilion Master, is his comprehension really high?" Liu Yunxi's eyes were filled with shock. His comprehension is not just high. It's monstrous. Hiss. What kind of monstrous elder is Green Cloud Sect hiding? He felt a chill down his spine. Everyone always thought that Green Cloud Sect was the weakest. But now it seems Green Cloud Sect is merely hiding its strength. Suddenly, the bell rang, reminding everyone in the hall that the time for the martial soul coin was over. Jiang Fan quickly looked at the statue, just in time for the content of the last form of the heavenly ruined finger to appear. He glanced at it and memorized it deeply. Only then did he leave the martial soul hall contentedly. Liu Yunxi's heart couldn't calm down from the shock. About Jiang Fan, he felt it necessary to inform the pavilion master immediately. "Xiaoyan, we've been out long enough, we should go back." Nangong Xiaoyan raised her eyebrows. "No way, I haven't found that bastard yet." Liu Yunxi's face turned serious. "No more nonsense." Nangong Xiaoyan was extremely unwilling, gritted her teeth and said, "Then I'll leave after sparring with Liu Qingxian." The main purpose of this trip was to defeat Liu Qingxian and avenge her previous defeat. Liu Yunxi nodded. "As soon as possible, no more delays." Nangong Xiaoyan then looked at Liu Qingxian with fighting intent. "Dare to spar with me?" Liu Qingxian had been avoiding her lately. Seeing that she couldn't avoid it any longer, she raised her neck slightly, saying, "You, a defeated opponent, dare to shout." Nangong Xiaoyan was so angry that she shouted, "You are the defeated opponent. We obviously only had a draw." Liu Qingxian laughed. "Enjoying the top resources of the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion, but only tying with me, how is that different from losing?" Nangong Xiaoyan's chest heaved, and she clenched her fists. This was exactly her shame. The proudest daughter of the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion lost to a female disciple of a lower sect. If that's not a great shame, then what is? Fight. Let's fight now. She was furious, wanting to avenge herself immediately. Liu Qingxian hesitated. She had just broken through foundation establishment, and her cultivation technique might not be as good as the others. In a real fight, her chances of winning weren't great. At this time, Jiang Fan reminded, "Miss Nangong, we have just broken through core formation and our realms are not stable. Even if you win, it will be an unfair victory. How about resting for half a day?" Resting was secondary. The main thing was, he wanted to pass some cultivation techniques to Liu Qingxian to increase her chances of winning. Liu Yunxi saw Jiang Fan's intention and laughed. "Little friend Jiang, in just half a day, you intend to teach her a cultivation technique?" cultivation techniques ultimately depended on personal comprehension. Even if someone taught it, the other person needed enough comprehension. Unless the one teaching had an extremely deep understanding of the cultivation technique. For example, when he taught disciples, his few decades of cultivation techniques allowed disciples to quickly comprehend. But that was just a lower, profound level technique, and he had cultivated it for decades, understanding it fully. But how long had Jiang Fan been comprehending the heavenly ruined finger? He probably hadn't fully understood many parts himself. Teaching others would be extremely difficult. Jiang Fan didn't deny it and said, "Let's give it a try." Although he had only cultivated 2 forms, he believed he had understood them fully. As long as Liu Qingxian's comprehension wasn't too bad, comprehending the first form shouldn't be a problem. Nie Yunxi smiled. "All right, half a day it is. We are not in a rush. How about it, Xiaoyan?" Nangong Xiaoyan crossed her arms in front of her chest, proudly saying, "No problem. Not to mention giving her half a day, even half a year wouldn't matter." Jiang Fan nodded and took Liu Qingxian to a nearby secret room for disciples to spar. "Senior sister, time is short. If you put your heart into it, it should be fine." Liu Qingxian worriedly asked, "Can I make it? My comprehension is far below yours. Even if you explain it clearly, I might not understand." Jiang Fan didn't say any more. He began patiently explaining his understanding of the first form. Initially, Liu Qingxian had a slight resistance, thinking she wouldn't understand. But as she listened, she found Jiang Fan's explanation clear and easy to understand. Unknowingly, she was drawn in. "Okay, digest this, then try again," Jiang Fan said. Liu Qingxian was stunned. "The first form is done so quickly." Through the entire process, she didn't find anything difficult to understand. Like a brilliant teacher instructing students, it gave her a sense of enlightenment. She immediately closed her eyes and carefully digested Jiang Fan's understanding. An hour later, she began to try cultivating it. However, saying it was easy, doing it was difficult. She failed several times. Seeing time slipping away, Jiang Fan couldn't help but worry. After hesitating for a moment, he said, "Senior sister, if you don't mind, I can teach you hand by hand." Hand by hand. Liu Qingxian felt embarrassed, instinctively wanting to refuse but thinking of the imminent spar. After some thought, she nodded, without hesitation. Jiang Fan came behind her, one hand on her lower abdomen dantian, the other holding her jade-like hand, saying, "Carefully sense the flow and pattern of my spiritual energy." He let out a wisp of spiritual energy into her abdomen, flowing through her meridians. At the same time, holding her hand, he drew intricate patterns in the air. Liu Qingxian's face turned red. At this moment, she was entirely embraced by Jiang Fan, making her heart race and body stiff. Right now, the news about her and Nangong Xiaoyan's upcoming fight spread quickly. Disciples and elders from various peaks hurried over. After all, they were both renowned, proud daughters of the Nine Sept. Their duel was a once-in-a-lifetime event. Liu Wuchen even rushed over with Wang Chengjian. Knowing that Liu Qingxian was cultivating in the secret room, Wang Chengjian worriedly said, "Senior sister must be training against the clock now, right? I'll go help her." With an encouraging smile, he pushed open the secret room's door, saying, "Senior sister, senior brother is here to assist you." His voice suddenly stopped. He stood there like a statue, unmoving. Liu Wuchen frowned slightly. "What's wrong?" What did Wang Chengjian see? So surprised. Liu Wuchen walked over in astonishment, looked inside, and was also dumbfounded on the spot. His daughter, who was diligently cultivating, was actually hugging Jiang Fan in the secret room. He couldn't help but scold, "Qingxian, what are you doing?" Under Jiang Fan's guidance, Liu Qingxian, who had just found some sensation, was suddenly awakened from her focused cultivation. Being forced to interrupt her cultivation, her mood naturally wasn't good, and she snapped, "Can't you see I'm cultivating?" Cultivating. Liu Wuchen was so angry he pointed and gestured but couldn't say a word. Wang Chengjian wore a grim face and said, "Senior sister, if you really want to cultivate, I'll accompany you. Jiang Fan, you can leave." This time, Liu Qingxian realized what they had misunderstood. She couldn't help but feel embarrassed and angry. "All of you get out!" With a bang, she shut the door, then continued to cultivate that earth-level finger technique. Wang Chengjian's face turned extremely ugly. How on earth was he inferior to Jiang Fan? Could it be just because Jiang Fan gave her a gale pearl, she was so affectionate with him? Liu Wuchen was also furious. "You knew my daughter has a duel with someone, and yet you still disturbed her cultivation. If she loses, I'll make you pay." While the two were in a foul mood, Vice Pavilion Master Yu walked over, holding a horsetail whisk. Liu Wuchen hurriedly restrained his anger and respectfully saluted, "Vice Pavilion Master Yu." This Vice Pavilion Master Yu's strength was unfathomable, and his status was higher than Liu Wuqian's. More importantly, Vice Pavilion Master Yu didn't think much of the Green Cloud sect. Since he came here, he had never shown a good face. Sect Master Liu, a true master doesn't reveal himself. If he does, he is not a true master. Vice Pavilion Master Yu's face was full of a friendly smile. If I hadn't come to the Green Cloud sect in person, I would have been fooled by you. Liu Wuqian was filled with question marks. What did I fool you about? He carefully accompanied with a smile. Why do you say that, Vice Pavilion Master Yu? Vice Pavilion Master Yu laughed heartily and pointed at him. See, still trying to hide. The elder of your sect, I have already experienced his prowess. He truly is a peerless master. I admit defeat with humility. Liu Wuqian was stunned. A peerless master. Admit defeat with humility? What a joke. Since when did the Green Cloud sect have such an extraordinary elder? He laughed it off and said, Vice Pavilion Master Yu, stop making fun. Vice Pavilion Master Yu shook his head, chuckling. I've already said this much. Why does the sect master continue to hide? With such an elder in your sect, your future prospects are limitless. After saying that, he walked away, leaving Liu Wuqian deep in thought. When did our Green Cloud sect have such an elder? But Vice Pavilion Master, you wouldn't say this without reason. Wait, he suddenly froze, his face turning grim. Could it be he's talking about the great elder? The strongest elder in the sect, without a doubt, is him. At this thought, Liu Wuqian's heart suddenly sank. The great elder being so appreciated by Vice Pavilion Master Yu. He felt an unprecedented threat, because the 9 sect masters' positions were decided by the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion. If Vice Pavilion Master, you said a few good words in front of the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion Master. Just the thought of it made Liu Wuqian shiver. Right at this moment, the great elder also arrived after hearing the news. The sect master's daughter was to spar with the #1 proud daughter of the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion. How could he, a troublemaker? No, the great elder missed such an important occasion. Sect master, your daughter's talent is exceptional, breaking through to the 9th layer of the Foundation establishment realm early on. She is the backbone of our Green Cloud sect. I believe this time she will undoubtedly win. He started with a skilled round of sarcasm. Liu Wuqian wore a sullen face, saying nothing, just staring at him intently. Tang Tianlong, following the great elder, couldn't help but shiver. He whispered, Master, the sect master seems off today. In the past, whenever someone belittled the disciples of Sect Master Peak, Liu Wuqian would always retaliate. But today was different. He remained silent and was staring with an unsettling gaze. The great elder also felt it was odd. Is this guy angry? Is it necessary, just joking about his daughter's defeat? Could it be he actually has hope for his daughter's duel? Indeed, he wanted to laugh at Sect Master Peak to see Liu Wuqian humiliated. But he couldn't, because in this duel it was normal for Liu Qingxian to lose. After all, the opponent was the #1 proud daughter of the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion. There was nothing shameful about losing to her. He couldn't understand why Liu Wuqian had such a big reaction. Ignore him. I brought you here to take a good look at Liu Qingxian's technique. You are not far from the 9th layer of the Foundation establishment realm. I hope you can defeat her and overshadow Sect Master Peak. And to win, you must be familiar with her technique to secure victory in every battle. Liu Qingxian rarely made a move. Now was a rare opportunity. Tang Tianlong nodded deeply. What Master said is true. Both of us use high-level, profound techniques. If I understand her technique, my winning odds increase by 2 points. As time passed, more and more disciples gathered in front of the Martial Soul Hall, becoming almost impenetrable. Inside the secret room, after Jiang Fan spent half a day teaching her hand-on-hand, Liu Qingxian finally managed to perform the first move of the heavenly ruined finger proficiently. Who? Feeling the turbulent air in front of her, she brushed aside her hair lifted by the strong wind, revealing an incredibly beautiful and excited face. Is this an earth-level technique? Jiang Fan, you really taught me an earth-level technique. Her joy was uncontrollable. Jiang Fan was enveloped in Liu Qingxian's fragrance, making him distracted. To avoid the atmosphere becoming ambiguous, he quickly said, The duel is about to begin, let's go out. Liu Qingxian nodded, her eyes burning with intense fighting spirit. Nangong Zioyan, this time I will make you cry again. As the two left the secret room, the crowd immediately burst into an uproar. I really hope senior sister Liu wins. All right, is the outcome of this duel the point? The result is already inevitable. Exactly, watching the duel between 2 stunning beauties is the focus. Witnessing this epic battle is enough for us to boast for years. seeing Liu Qingxian finally appear. Xiaoyan couldn't hold back, stepping forward with her delicate face full of determination to avenge her previous humiliation. Liu Qingxian, this time I'll make you taste the bitterness of defeat. Liu Qingxian fearlessly met her challenge. Her beautiful eyes revealed a hint of amusement. Do you think you're sure to win? Oh, Vice Pavilion Master Yu, who was watching, revealed a surprised look. After half a day of cultivation, Liu Qingxian seemed much more confident. Could it be she really mastered the heavenly ruined finger? But upon further thought, he shook his head slightly. Still the same point. Even Jiang Fan himself hadn't mastered it fully. How could he teach it to someone else? This battle still had no suspense. He picked up the tea bowl, moistened his throat, and said, Xiaoyan, finish this quickly. There was a huge gap between them. A few moves would determine the outcome. Xiaoyan nodded. The powerful spiritual power surged like waves, causing the air currents around her to swirl. It swept up wisps of dust, swirling around her feet. The disciples of the Green Cloud sect couldn't help but feel awe in their hearts. Core Formation Realm. It's really hard to believe she only joined the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion last year. The first prodigious daughter of the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion deserves her name. In terms of strength, she might not be the first in the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion, but in terms of potential, she is undoubtedly unrivaled. Xiaoyan assumed a stance, activating her cultivation technique, and said, Liu Qingxian. Strike. Everyone turned to look at Liu Qingxian. Although they didn't have high expectations for Liu Qingxian, being able to watch the #1 beauty of the Green Cloud sect up close was a rare visual treat. As both sides were about to engage in battle, Jiang Fan encouraged, Senior sister, give it your all. Don't have any burdens. Today's battle, even if you don't win, you win. A disciple of the Ninth Sect, being able to match the top prodigious daughter of the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion in terms of realm, was already a good story. Even if she lost, no one would think she was lacking. On the contrary, they would praise her for her extraordinary talent, not inferior to the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion. If she won, it would be a colossal honor. Therefore, if she won, great. If she lost, it didn't matter. Liu Qingxian understood this layer of meaning, and her somewhat nervous mindset immediately calmed down. She nodded and looked calmly at Xiaoyan. As both sides were about to start fighting, Jiang Fan left the battlefield and returned to Liu Wuchen's side. Liu Wuchen couldn't help but rebuke, before the big battle, are you dragging her down because you're worried she won't lose thoroughly enough, won't be disgraceful enough? Jiang Fan cupped his hands and said, Master, senior sister has made great progress, she might not lose this battle. Great progress? Liu Wuchen recalled the scene of them hugging in the secret room and couldn't help but laugh in anger. Then I'd have to thank you for helping her out. Did this Jiang Fan have no self-awareness at all? He was clearly dragging Liu Qingxian down. Wang Chengjian frowned and said, Junior brother, you wouldn't be saying that hugging Liu junior sister was to improve her strength, would you? It was amazing Jiang Fan had the face to say it. But just then, Liu Qingxian rapidly unleashed her spiritual power. That spiritual power, which was like a ceaseless torrent, surged astonishingly, causing him to be taken aback. Master junior sister's spiritual power seems off. The 9th layer of the Foundation Establishment realm, is it that strong? For a long time, there was no response. He turned his head and saw Liu Wuchen already standing up from his chair in shock. His eyes were wide open and he murmured, Core Formation, this is the Core Formation realm. Then he couldn't contain his immense joy. My daughter broke through to the Core Formation realm. Broke through to the Core Formation realm? He could hardly believe it. His daughter had been stuck at the 9th layer of the Foundation Establishment realm for half a year, despite all his efforts to help her form a core, to no avail. Yet she suddenly formed a core herself. The sudden joy left him unable to calm down for a long time. Wang Chengjian was stunned. Core Formation realm? He had thought he was about to break through to the 9th layer of the Foundation Establishment realm, matching up to Liu Qingxian. But now she had stepped into the Core Formation realm. This made him feel somewhat inferior. But on the flip side, if even he was unworthy of Liu Qingxian, then Jiang Fan was even more unworthy. Only then did he feel a little better. The other disciples and elders were naturally also very shocked. Tang Tianlong gritted his teeth slightly and said, Master, should we continue watching? He had come to observe Liu Qingxian's cultivation techniques, hoping to increase his chances of defeating her after breaking through to the 9th layer of the Foundation Establishment realm. But now she had already broken through to the Core Formation realm. How could he win? Even if he broke through to the Foundation Establishment realm, he had no chance of winning. Feng Guqian's face turned extremely ugly. What the hell? How did she break through to the core formation realm? Since when was the core formation realm so easy to break through? Even with spirit pills from the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion, it took at least 3 to ensure success. But the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion didn't have even 1. How did Liu Qingxian break through? With this, Sect Master Peak had 1 more disciple at the core formation realm, greatly increasing Sect Master Peak's prestige. So what if she broke through to core formation? She still loses, Feng Guqian said angrily. The surrounding disciples also burst into uproar. Liu Qingxian actually broke through the barrier, becoming a core formation realm master. Core formation, the chasm that 99% of martial artists cannot cross. The fame of the 4 fairies of the 9 sect deserves its name. It's a pity senior sister's resources are lacking. Her cultivation techniques are inferior to Nangong Xiaoyan's, otherwise this match would be interesting. Yes, even though senior sister Liu broke through to the core formation realm, winning is still very difficult. The audience was boiling over. Even with Liu Qingxian's cold and proud nature, she couldn't help but feel proud at this moment. She glanced at Jiang Fan from the corner of her eye, feeling a strong sense of gratitude. When she looked at Nangong Xiaoyan again, she felt a sense of certainty to win. Jiang Fan had helped her so much, she couldn't disappoint him. Come on! Liu Qingxian hesitated no more and drew her sword, swinging it out. 100 turns and 1,000 returns. She held the purple sword, her graceful figure drawing a fierce slash. The sword chi, like tangible threads, flew everywhere, slashing towards Nangong Xiaoyan. The power of one sword made the disciples of the Green Cloud sect feel ashamed. Tang Tianlong showed a difficult expression. For this one sword, he asked himself if there was no way to take it. The other disciples didn't even need to be mentioned. They couldn't help but waver in their hearts, thinking Liu Qingxian might have a chance to win. However, the next moment made everyone's heart sink. Only to see Nangong Xiaoyan curl her lips. It's no different from last year, is it? Shattered flower palm. Her long-accumulated palm technique abruptly struck out. A tangible spiritual power palm print burst forth. The swirling sword chi met the spiritual power palm print and melted away like snowflakes. And the spiritual power palm print did not diminish, striking hard against Liu Qingxian. Liu Qingxian hurriedly swung her sword again. Nangong Xiaoyan laughed. It's useless. This is my Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion's strongest profound level high techniques. I specially asked the Pavilion Master to grant it to me to defeat you. Your swordsmanship is no match at all. With that, she leaped forward, pushing the spiritual power palm print towards Liu Qingxian. The sword move Liu Qingxian executed was instantly shattered by the spiritual power palm print. Under Nangong Xiaoyan's urging, the spiritual power palm print broke through as if it were bamboo, sending Liu Qingxian's purple sword flying out of her hand. This elicited sighs from the entire arena. It's over. Without her sword, she has no chance. Senior sister Liu ultimately lost because of her inferior cultivation techniques. Feng Guqian felt slightly relieved and snorted. Winning? How absurd. Liu Wuqian, however, felt some disappointment. His previously excited mood had calmed down a lot. He comforted himself. Breaking through the core formation realm is already impressive. Losing is losing. However, just as he finished speaking, Liu Qingxian revealed a sly smile she couldn't hide. Nangong Xiaoyan, do you think you've won? Nangong Xiaoyan was startled, her heart thumping inexplicably. She had a very bad premonition. She hurriedly tried to retreat, but because she had been eager to win earlier, the distance between them was already too close. Retreating was difficult. In her constantly shrinking pupils, she could only watch as Liu Qingxian executed a finger technique she was all too familiar with. Liu Qingxian also smiled, unleashing a powerful strike. Heavenly Ruined Finger. Thud, in just an instant, the incomparably strong finger force pierced through the spiritual power palm print and struck Nangong Xiaoyan's chest. Crack! The heart protection mirror she wore shattered instantly, blocking the blow. But the residual force still sent her flying several zhang away. Always composed, Nie Yunxi's face stiffened. He flicked his sleeve and urgently dashed out to catch the falling Nangong Xiaoyan. Nangong Xiaoyan clutched her aching chest. Her eyes widened. She learned the earth-level finger technique. Nie Yunxi was even more astonished than she was. He looked at Jiang Fan in disbelief and murmured, "How is this possible? He actually succeeded in teaching the Heavenly Ruined Finger to Liu Qingxian. In such a short time, how did he comprehend that technique to such an extent?" The entire audience erupted into deafening shouts. Senior sister Liu won. Our Green Cloud Sect won. We defeated the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion. The unexpected victory left them uncontrollably excited. The disciples of the Green Cloud Sect defeating the first prodigy of the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion was an honor unheard of among the other 8 sects. The disciples were astonished by the victory. Liu Wuchen and the elders were shocked by the finger technique Liu Qingxian had just displayed. Feng Guchen couldn't believe it. Earth-level technique? How could it be an Earth-level technique? Where did she get an Earth-level technique? He couldn't help but look at Liu Wuchen, suspecting it was him who taught it. Who knew Liu Wuchen's expression was even more astonished than his. Where did Qingxian get an Earth-level technique? Who taught it to her? At this moment, Nie Yunxi walked over, his face quite sullen, and said, "Sect Master Liu, you have nurtured your daughter well. Congratulations!" The first prodigy of the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion actually lost to a disciple of the Green Cloud Sect. If the news got out, it would really damage the dignity of the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion. If he had known, he should not have let Nangong Xiaoyan spar. Liu Wuchen hastily returned the greeting. Miss Nangong was just being kind. Nie Yunxi indeed felt a bit resentful. He didn't think Nangong Xiaoyan lost to Liu Qingxian, but lost to Jiang Fan, that incredibly powerful elder. Without his guidance, Liu Qingxian couldn't even break through to the core formation realm, let alone defeat Nangong Xiaoyan. Sect Master Liu, there's no need to be modest. Liu Qingxian's victory is all due to your elder Jiang. Nie Yunxi sighed. Having such an elder is a great fortune for your Green Cloud Sect. Liu Wuchen was stunned, puzzled. Elder Jiang? Vice Pavilion Master Yu, could you be mistaken? The Green Cloud Sect had 9 elders, and none of them were surnamed Jiang. At this point, not only Nie Yunxi was dumbfounded, Nangong Xiaoyan was also stunned. How could it be wrong? Jiang Fan was standing right next to Liu Wuchen, wasn't he? What mistake was there to make? Nangong Xiaoyan asked with a bewildered expression. Then who is he? Could it be he wasn't actually named Jiang Fan, and his surname wasn't Jiang? Following her pointed finger, Liu Wuchen looked at Jiang Fan in astonishment. Although he didn't know why someone like Nangong Xiaoyan would care about a little disciple like Jiang Fan, he quickly introduced. This is my unworthy disciple, Jiang Fan. Jiang Fan, come and pay respects to Miss Nangong. She is the first prodigy of the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion with extraordinary martial path talent and superb comprehension. Any guidance from her will benefit you for a lifetime. Jiang Fan nodded. He came before Nie Yunxi, and Nangong Xiaoyan cupped his fists and said, Vice Pavilion Master Yu, Miss Nangong. Jiang Fan of the Green Cloud Sect greets you both. Although he had interacted with them before, this was the first formal introduction. Nie Yunxi stared dumbfoundedly at Jiang Fan, his eyes vacant. Nangong Xiaoyan, on the other hand, seemed to suffer a minor brain freeze. The elder Jiang, who had once slain the Beast King with a single sword, unleashing a sky-shaking sword chi. The elder Jiang, who could summon boundless spiritual energy at will, with an incredibly powerful spirit root. The elder Jiang with heavenly comprehension, who mastered an earth-level finger technique in just a few hours and taught it to Liu Qingxian in half a day. You're telling me he wasn't an elder at all, but merely a disciple of the Green Cloud Sect, and an unworthy disciple at that. Which family's unworthy disciple could be this extraordinary? Something seemed stuck in Nie Yunxi's throat, and after stammering for a long time, he finally said, Sect Master Liu, you said he is an unworthy disciple. Liu Wuchen felt like he was sitting on pins and needles. He was extremely unwilling to be asked about Jiang Fan. This disciple without a spirit root was simply his shame. But since Nie Yunxi specifically asked, he had no choice but to brace himself and say, he is indeed an unworthy disciple, offending Vice Pavilion Master Yu's eyes. Nangong Xiaoyan stood dazed, unable to believe Liu Wuchen's assessment. Such an extraordinary disciple, he actually called him unworthy. She swallowed hard and said, Sect Master Liu, could there be some misunderstanding? Misunderstanding. Liu Wuchen looked embarrassed and sighed. Miss Nangong doesn't know. It is not that I am belittling this disciple, but he truly is unworthy. Because he is a disciple without a spirit root. What? Without a spirit root? The terrifying spirit root in the martial soul hall that summoned spiritual energy from a radius of several miles. What was that then? Nangong Xiaoyan opened her mouth to speak. Nie Yunxi, his gaze shifting, quickly covered her mouth to stop her from speaking further. He said to Liu Wuchen, Sect Master Liu, having disturbed you for many days, we will take our leave now. Please act on the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion's notification as soon as possible. Liu Wuchen cupped his hands and watched as the two of them left on a flying crane. They had left the Green Cloud sect quite a distance. Nangong Xiaoan broke free from Yu Yunxi's grasp, struggling to catch her breath. She said, "Are you trying to suffocate me? Why didn't you let me speak?" Yu Yunxi, now trembling with excitement, said, "Treasure, we discovered an invaluable treasure. An extraordinary prodigy with an unparalleled spirit root, and Liu Wuchen has the eyes but fails to see, treating him as an unworthy disciple." Nangong Xiaoan began to understand why Yu Yunxi stopped her from questioning further. "Vice Pavilion Master, are you planning to recruit Jiang Fan under your command?" Yu Yunxi exclaimed excitedly. "Of course, once this prodigy is nurtured, he will undoubtedly become a dominant figure in the future. It will benefit both me and the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion immensely. As soon as the beast tide is resolved, I will immediately find a way to bring him to the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion." Nangong Xiaoan suddenly understood, then quickly asked with some doubt, "But what if someone else discovers his extraordinary nature? Who knows when the beast tide will end? And Jiang Fan is so extraordinary, it would be hard for others not to notice his excellence. In that case, it wouldn't necessarily go as Yu Yunxi wished." Hearing this, Yu Yunxi also felt anxious. If this monstrous talent got snatched by someone else, he would be mad and shorten his life by 3 years. "Humph! Whoever tries to snatch him, I'll fight them to the death," he said fiercely. Nangong Xiaoyan then asked, "But what if it's Liu Wuchen who discovers him?" Yu Yunxi was stunned. Jiang Fan was their disciple. If Liu Wuchen suddenly realized Jiang Fan's extraordinary nature, of course, he wouldn't let go of this disciple. After pondering for a while, Yu Yunxi snorted. "So what if he discovers it? Jiang Fan has been treated as an unworthy disciple. What right does he have to continue being his master?" Hearing that Yu Yunxi intended to snatch Jiang Fan by force, Nangong Xiaoyan clicked her tongue. When the time comes, she wondered how deeply Liu Wuchen would regret it. On the other side, Liu Wuchen raised his eyebrows and exhaled, laughing up to the sky, saying, "Qingxian, you make your father so proud." Liu Qingxian lifted her hair, unable to hide the joy on her face. But she did not forget that she won this time all thanks to Jiang Fan. "Father, my progress is all thanks to Jiang Fan." Jiang Fan, Liu Wuchen's smile immediately disappeared and he said, "Thanks to him. Fortunately, you won. If you had lost, I wouldn't have let him off," Liu Qingxian said urgently. "It really was Jiang Fan's credit this time. You must reward him properly." She somewhat regretted hiding the truth about Jiang Fan's 9th-grade spiritual root from her father. As a result, her father treated Jiang Fan this way. However, it was too late to confess the truth now, because Jiang Fan's performance had far exceeded her expectations. Such a monstrous figure, if made public, the strong members of the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion would be the first to try to take him away. Others from the 8 sects would also try their best to steal him, and those opposing the Green Cloud sect might even harm Jiang Fan. So this matter was now beyond her control. Liu Wuchen was 100% unwilling. "What exactly do you see in this guy?" But today, his daughter had brought glory not just to herself and the sect master Peak, but also to the entire Green Cloud sect. Her request was something Liu Wuchen couldn't refuse. He then looked at Jiang Fan, saying irritably, "What reward do you want?" Jiang Fan found it both funny and annoying. Of course, he didn't stand on ceremony. After all, he had helped Liu Wuchen's daughter such a great deal. What harm was there in taking a reward? Just having gone through the cultivation in the Divine Hall and Martial Soul Hall, his realm and cultivation technique had gained a huge uplift. At the moment, he really couldn't think of what reward he needed. After some thought, he said, "Can I save the reward and ask for it when I need it later?" Liu Wuchen, too lazy to ask further, said, "Suit yourself." Then he looked around the crowd with a joyful face. Liu Qingxian has broken through to core formation and also achieved a great victory over the proud daughter of the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion. Double happiness. Our sect will grant each inter-sect disciple a piece of spiritual medicine worth 100 crystal stones, which can be collected at the medicine peak. The entire place erupted with cheers. No one expected the usually stingy sect master to grant such a grand reward to the whole sect. Jiang Fan smiled. Even mosquito legs are still meat. Besides, he did need some spiritual medicine indeed. Otherwise, the little Killin would run to the medicine garden to pick up heavenly materials and earthly treasures to eat. Therefore, he followed the crowd to the medicine peak. Although they had received the sect master's notification, time was short, and the medicine peak didn't have enough time to prepare. Hundreds and thousands of disciples swarmed the medicine peak. The scene was imaginable. The medicine peak was almost trampled down. Everyone fall in line. Anyone who pushes will get out. In the chaos. Wen Hongyao, leaning on a cane, led the disciples to block the peak's entrance. She scanned the surroundings with a gloomy face. All the disciples, upon being seen, shrunk their necks and lined up obediently. Jiang Fan found it both funny and annoying. Everyone in the sect knew Elder Wen's bad reputation. Huh. Jiang Fan? Wen Hongyao spotted Jiang Fan in the crowd and scolded, "What are you doing in line? Come in quickly." The obediently queuing disciples were immediately dissatisfied. Why could a person without a spirit root cut the line while they had to wait? "Elder Wen, why?" a discontented disciple muttered. When Hongyao glanced at him sideways, "If you're not happy, get out." "Jiang Fan, come over," amidst a multitude of disgruntled eyes. Jiang Fan embarrassedly cut the line from the end, entering the medicine peak mountaintop first. Getting so much hatred just for a portion of spiritual medicine, really not worth it. When Hongyao rolled her eyes at him. "A portion, that's for others. You think I'd give you just one portion?" She pushed a tray full of spiritual medicine towards Jiang Fan, waving her hand. "Take as much as you want." The queuing disciples were unsettled. The spiritual medicine in the medicine peak was all refined from heavenly materials and earthly treasures. Each portion was worth at least 100 crystal stones. Jiang Fan could take several portions, worth thousands of crystal stones. Jiang Fan was also astonished. "Elder Wen, what are you doing?" When Hongyao patted his shoulder with a laugh. "You've done my niece a great favor. What's all this compared to that?" She looked at Jiang Fan fondly, more tenderly than at her own son. Because of Jiang Fan's full support, her niece had astonishingly become the 5-star chief. No matter how much she thanked Jiang Fan, it wouldn't be enough. So that's how it was. Jiang Fan no longer stood on ceremony, casually grabbing 10 or so portions of spiritual medicine and stuffing them into his bag. This would be enough food for the little Qilin for a few days. At this moment, Wen Shengnan, lifting her skirt gleefully, came running up. "Aunt, look who's here." Behind her was an old man in a white robe with his hands behind his back, graying hair and a youthful face, walking briskly. His face was exceptionally rosy. Seeing the person, when Hongyao was taken aback, hurriedly stepping forward to greet him. "Big brother Shangyuan, why have you come?" Big brother Shangyuan was none other. The once world's #1 divine doctor, disciple of the undying divine doctor, Shangyuan Sheng. When Hongyao owed her current status entirely to Shangyuan Sheng's guidance in the past. She naturally treated him with the utmost respect. Shangyuan Sheng gazed at the elderly Wen Hongyao, sighing, "30 years have passed, you and I have both aged. If this old body doesn't go out to visit old friends now, it might never have another chance." Wen Hongyao was moved by his words, as if seeing the distant scene 30 years ago when they discussed medicine. She wiped her moist eyes, saying, "Big brother Shangyuan, please come in and let me show you around the medicine peak." The disciples in line, looking shocked, gazed at the elderly man with youthful looks. They all stepped aside respectfully. Shangyuan Sheng, the #1 divine doctor in the 9-sect realm. Currently, he was the great elder of the Supreme Sect, in charge of the medicine peak. His status and virtues were revered. His medical skills were unparalleled. Even as a great elder, he was someone whom the 9-sect masters addressed as a senior with utmost respect. Who would dare to be impudent in front of him? Shangyuan Sheng stepped onto the peak, noticing Jiang Fan standing beside Wen Hongyao, and asked, "Is this your disciple?" Wen Hongyao showed a bitter expression. "I'm not that fortunate." "Oh." Shangyuan Sheng, with a look of surprise, scrutinized Wen Hongyao. "You have changed a lot over the years, not as harsh as before." Wen Hongyao in the past would never say complimentary words to juniors. Not reprimanding was already the highest praise. Now she had actually said such words which seemed very unfamiliar to him. Wen Hongyao sighed, "Big brother Shangyuan, if you knew how impressive this young man's medicine refining talent is, you wouldn't say that." "Is that so?" Shangyuan Sheng was indifferent. He had seen countless so-called geniuses in the medicine path. His standards were exceedingly high. What Wen Hongyao considered a genius might not be so in his eyes, at this moment. Wen Shengnan also noticed Jiang Fan, showing deep respect, and couldn't help but bow. "Young Master Jiang, you are here too." By the time she realized bowing was inappropriate, it was already too late. Shangyuan Sheng slightly frowned. When Wen Shengnan saw him, she only made a curtsy. But seeing this Jiang Fan, she bowed deeply. This kind of salute was only for senior figures. This made Shangyuan Sheng somewhat displeased. He scrutinized Jiang Fan with a critical eye, saying, "I am a disciple of the undying doctor." Do you dare let me test your medicine path skills? The medicine path was but a part of the medical path. Jiang Fan had inherited all the profound knowledge of the undying medical book. He was naturally highly proficient in this field. If it were anyone else testing him, he wouldn't be interested. But upon learning that the old man in front of him was a disciple of the undying doctor, he couldn't help feeling curious. He wanted to know, compared to the direct disciple of the undying doctor, who was stronger. When Hong Yao's face slightly changed upon hearing this, she couldn't help but glare at Wen Shengnan fiercely. How could she not distinguish between seniority? As a result, she angered Shang Yuansheng, who then made things difficult for Jiang Fan. She hurried to smooth things over for Jiang Fan, saying, "Big brother Shang Yuan, how could his little talent catch your eye? Let's go sit in the hall and try some of our Green Cloud Sect's spiritual tea." Yet Shang Yuansheng still stared at Jiang Fan, saying, "For someone who can make your niece so respectful, his talent can't be low, right? Young man, do you dare? If you can pass my test, I'll give you this set of blue flame silver needles." He took out a set of silver needles sealed in a jade box in various lengths and sizes. The tips of the silver needles faintly flashed with a blue spark. Jiang Fan's pupils contracted. This was one of the 3 sets of silver needles from the undying doctor. They were forged from outer heaven meteorite, each one a mid-grade magical artifact. The value of the entire set wasn't inferior by any means to a top-grade magical artifact. They enhanced the effectiveness of the needles, making them capable of instantly curing diseases. The blue flame silver needle played a significant role in the undying doctor's renown across the 9-sect land. This was a divine artifact that anyone in the medical path dreamed of. Jiang Fan was immediately tempted and said, "Thank you for your kindness, senior. I am willing to give it a try." When Hong Yao was shocked, Jiang Fan was too overconfident, wasn't he? Didn't he realize that Shang Yuansheng was unlikely to truly give away the blue flame silver needles? These silver needles were the most precious legacy left to him by the undying doctor before he died. Someone offered tens of thousands of crystal stones to buy them, but he refused. How could he possibly want to give them to Jiang Fan genuinely? He must be setting an extremely tricky challenge to make it difficult for Jiang Fan to obtain the blue flame silver needles. Shang Yuansheng slightly nodded, saying, "Very well, let me test you then." His gaze shifted to the round dish before him. He immediately had an idea for the test. "Among these spiritual medicines, 3 are substandard. Can you find them?" "What?" When Hong Yao was startled. There were failed batches among these spiritual medicines. They were all refined by the disciples, each personally checked by her, confirmed to have no issues before being stored. But just with a glance, Shang Yuansheng discovered 3 substandard ones. Her heart trembled silently. After 30 years apart, what level had Shang Yuansheng's medical expertise reached? The test he posed was challenging even for her to pass. Let alone Jiang Fan? She couldn't help but smile bitterly. It was just as she guessed. Shang Yuansheng was only trying to make things difficult for Jiang Fan. It was not a genuine test. However, Jiang Fan did not seem to find it daunting. He appeared to suddenly realize, muttering, "I thought it was just my imagination, but there really are substandard ones." While selecting spiritual medicines earlier, he had sensed something wrong with a few. Out of trust in Wen Hongyao, he didn't suspect them to be substandard. It turned out they really were problematic. So familiar with the process, he picked out the 3 problematic spiritual medicines, saying, "Could it be these 3? Wen Hongyao was speechless internally. If he didn't understand, he didn't understand, but why was Jiang Fan pretending? Thinking that Jiang Fan, being young and thin-skinned, didn't want to lose face in front of so many disciples of the Green Cloud Sect, she assumed he casually picked 3 to cope. She walked over and quietly said, "It's normal to fail the test. This is the 9 sect's #1 divine doctor's test. It's not shameful." Saying this, she reached to return the spiritual medicines to take them back. But Shang Yuansheng's expression subtly changed. Looking at Jiang Fan with a surprised expression, he said, "You truly have some skill." When Hong Yao froze, she looked at the 3 spiritual medicines in her palm, shocked. "Big brother Shang Yuan, you can't be saying he picked out the right ones." Shang Yuansheng stared fixedly at Jiang Fan, saying, "Why not open them and find out?" When Hong Yao couldn't believe it. Jiang Fan actually picked out the 3 substandard ones from among hundreds of spiritual medicines like Shang Yuansheng. Bear in mind, each one was tightly wrapped in parchment paper. It was almost impossible to see any flaws from the exterior. She quickly opened the first packet labeled Nourishing Hair Ointment. As soon as she opened it, a putrid smell wafted out. Upon closer inspection, the white ointment had black spots inside, clearly moldy. Jiang Fan said, "It must have been due to overheating during boiling, with the exterior dried but the interior still moist. Over time, it naturally got moldy." When Hangyao's face showed signs of embarrassment. The spiritual medicine she'd personally checked indeed had issues. She immediately reprimanded the female disciple who had refined the medicine harshly. Then, she opened the second and third packets. Without exception, they had problems. Both ashamed and impressed, she asked, "Jiang Fan, how did you discover them?" That Xianxia could see through them was due to his profound expertise in the medical field. But Jiang Fan was still a junior. Jiang Fan casually replied, "I picked up a little knowledge and understood a bit." With such a humble attitude in Xianxuan's eyes, it seemed like false modesty, pride, and arrogance. "It's indeed only a little knowledge," Xianxuan said plainly. "Then let me test you again. How would you treat Elder Wen's old ailment?" Jiang Fan then remembered that Elder Wen suffered from heart failure. The last time the elders were selecting disciples, failing to select Jiang Fan had caused her condition to relapse, rendering her bedridden. She had to take 9-flavor heart-nourishing pills to ease her condition. He fell into deep thought. When Hangyao smiled bitterly, saying, "Big brother Xianxuan, don't make it difficult for him. You know my condition. It is an incurable disease and can only be suppressed with 9-flavor heart-nourishing pills." Back then, during her travels seeking famous doctors for a cure, she met Xianxuan. The 9-flavor heart-nourishing pills were also given to her by Xianxuan. This condition had no cure. "Ha ha," Xianxuan chuckled, stroking his beard. "Previously, there was indeed no cure. But in recent years, I found something while going through my master's notes. After years of contemplation, I finally developed a pill recipe that can completely cure your heart failure." Saying this, he took out a prescription and handed it to Wen Hangyao. "I came to participate in the auction and decided to visit Green Cloud Sect to give it to you." Wen Hangyao's hands trembled as she gratefully took the prescription. Moved to tears, she said, "Big brother Xianxuan, it's touching that you've remembered my condition all these years." Xianxuan clasped his hands behind his back, smiling. "Relieving human suffering and solving medical problems is our duty, right? Besides, developing this prescription allows me to bring solace to my master's spirit in heaven. Even he may not have solved this condition." His old face radiated profound pride. But then the sound of steady writing reached their ears. Xianxuan turned his head and was taken aback. He saw Jiang Fan holding a brush, writing something intently. "What are you doing?" Jiang Fan didn't lift his head and said, "Writing a prescription for treating heart failure." Xianxuan snorted with a laugh. He shook his head, dismissively looking away. The treatment method he had painstakingly developed over several years. How could Jiang Fan, with his limited experience, comprehend and write a treatment prescription? Wen Hangyao also felt helpless. It was evident that Xianxuan wanted Jiang Fan to give up. Unexpectedly, he was stubbornly writing it down. She went up to comfort him. "Don't take it to heart. Divine Dr. Xianxuan was only joking with you." As she spoke, she unintentionally glanced at what he was writing. It didn't matter if she took a look. Upon seeing it, her expression instantly froze. She picked up the prescription given to her by Xianxuan, incredulous. Then she looked at the one written by Jiang Fan. Her mouth dropped open wide enough to fit an egg, because the two prescriptions were extremely similar. "Big brother Xianxuan, you come and take a look," Wen Hangyao said in utter shock. Xianxuan chuckled. "What, he can write a proper prescription?" But when he moved closer and took a look, the smile on his face froze. He stared unblinkingly as Jiang Fan finished writing the prescription. Over 90% of it was the same. Only the main ingredient and a few auxiliary ingredients were different. Xianxuan grabbed the prescription, looking at it again and again in disbelief. His old eyes looked at Jiang Fan with fear. His breathing became erratic, and he shouted, "Where did you get this?" His first instinct was that Jiang Fan had stolen his prescription. But no one knows this prescription except him. Furthermore, there were still some differences between the two prescriptions. Besides that, how could Jiang Fan possibly have this kind of prescription? Being accused of being a thief felt bad. Jiang Fan frowned and said, "Just tell me, can this prescription cure Elder Wen's heart failure?" Xianxuan stared at Jiang Fan for a long time. He reluctantly looked at the prescription and said, "My prescription is the result of 3 years of careful consideration. It's absolutely the most perfect combination. Your prescription has 3 different ingredients. I won't talk about its efficacy for now, it might even be fatal. Jiang Fan was speechless. This prescription came from the undying medical book. He cupped his hands and said, "Its efficacy can be deduced." All three present were experts in the medical field. They only needed to carefully consider a prescription to deduce about 70 to 80% of its efficacy. Xianxia snorted. "You're still not convinced? Fine, let's see how effective your prescription is." Wen Hongyao also started to consider and deduce, after the time it takes for an incense stick to burn. Xianxia held the prescription for a long time without speaking. After a while, Wen Hongyao finished deducing, showing an uncertain expression. "Big brother Xianxia, why do I feel like this prescription is on par with yours?" Xianxia's expression was complex. There was shock and unwillingness, but it finally turned to self-mockery. "We're both experts, there's no need to flatter me. This prescription is much more brilliant than mine. Although only 3 ingredients are different, the medicine's effectiveness is greatly improved. With my prescription, it would take 3 years to heal. With his, it would take at most 3 months." Wen Hongyao's lips moved. She wanted to say something to smooth things over, but the difference between the 2 prescriptions was too great. She didn't know how to make it up. Xianxia looked at Jiang Fan again. His gaze was no longer superior. There was a hint of admiration. He turned to Wen Hongyao and sighed. "No wonder someone as harsh as you cherishes him so much. Even I can't help but admire such a brilliant talent." Although both he and Wen Hongyao had somewhat peculiar temperaments. That was because they were devoted to the medical path, with little regard for social niceties. When they discovered new talent in the medical path, they felt heartfelt sympathy more than anyone. He smiled and said, "Young man, who is your master? To have such an outstanding disciple like you. I won't speak of other aspects, but in terms of this prescription, I am not as good as you." The supreme divine doctor of the 9-sect land, admitting to being inferior to a young man in prescription writing. It sounded absurd, but it actually happened. Jiang Fan calmly said, "I will answer that question later. Before that, I would like to compare medical skills with Senior Xianxia." Medicine refining technique was only part of the undying medical book. Being slightly better at prescription writing did not mean much. Medical skills were the true testament to the difference between him and Xianxia, who inherited the undying medical book. "Compare medical skills with me." Xianxia couldn't help but laugh and affectionately patted Jiang Fan's head. "Youngster, you have high aspirations. The last person to challenge me was 10 years ago. They were a renowned expert. You, however, are just a child." When Hongyao was terrified, she quickly said, "Jiang Fan, don't be impudent." Jiang Fan had just passed Xianxia's assessment. How could he dare to challenge his medical skills? Truly a newborn calf not afraid of a tiger. "It's all right." Xianxia was eagerly interested. In his calm eyes, there was a long-suppressed desire for competition. "Since you can master such an advanced prescription, your medical skills should not be too bad." "Fine, I'll compare with you." But how should it be compared fairly? Suddenly, Xianxia saw the densely packed queue outside. "Let's do it this way." Xianxia pointed at them. "The 2 of us will each select patients with illnesses from the queue. Within 1 incense stick's time, whoever selects the most patients wins." When Hongyao was dumbfounded. All the disciples present were full of vitality and stronger than oxen. If they had any diseases, it wouldn't be apparent from their appearance. "This requires a physician's keen eye." Jiang Fan nodded and said, "Fine, as Senior said." Upon Wen Hongyao's shout to begin, Jiang Fan and Xianxia jumped into the crowd. To win, they couldn't check each pulse individually. They had to observe the complexion to judge their health. At this moment, Xianxia leaped to a female disciple with a rosy complexion. With just one look, he said, "Although your complexion is rosy, there are bloodstains in your eyes which indicate fire toxin in your body. Stand over there, I'll give you a prescription later." The female disciple was astonished. A few months ago, she was poisoned by a fire toad during training. Since the symptoms were mild, she hadn't paid much attention to it. But Xianxia saw it at a glance, which filled her with admiration. As expected from the divine doctor of the 9-sect land. He lives up to his name. Jiang Fan saw this and felt an enormous pressure. Xianxia's reputation wasn't just boasting. He immediately scanned the disciples around and spotted a male disciple with a full head of black hair. Jiang Fan walked over, picked up a strand of his hair with 2 fingers, and gently wiped it, revealing black impurities between his fingers. "This senior brother, you recently consumed life-depleting heavenly materials and earthly treasures to forcefully increase your cultivation, didn't you? If not treated in time, it could be life-threatening. Please step aside and I will treat you later." The disciple's face changed dramatically. To prepare for the upcoming disciple rating, he took the risk. He thought no one would notice. Who knew Jiang Fan could see it at a glance? Thus, amidst exclamations, Jiang Fan and Shang Yunxi kept moving through the disciples, picking out one by one who seemed healthy but actually had illnesses. "Time's up!" Upon Wen Hongyao's call, they stopped. When Hongyao counted the number of disciples each had brought back one by one. After making a record, she returned with a troubled look. Shang Yunxi wiped the sweat from his forehead with his sleeves, breathing heavily. "Announce it." When Hongyao hesitated for a long time and said, "Divine Dr. Shang Yuan, 19 people." Diagnosing the illnesses of 19 people within one incense stick's time, only he could do that in the entire nine-sect land. Upon hearing this, Shang Yunxi heaved a sigh of relief. This was even higher than his record 10 years ago. He looked at Jiang Fan with a smile and said, "What about Jiang Fan? How many did he diagnose? If he diagnosed 5, he can take charge on his own." When Hongyao's eyes flickered, hesitant to speak. "What, not even 5? Shang Yunxi showed a bit of disappointment. But he still comforted Jiang Fan by patting him on the shoulder. "It's okay, work hard, don't let this affect your mindset." When Hongyao finally couldn't hold back, stammering, "Big brother Shang Yuan, I'm not worried about Jiang Fan's mindset. I'm afraid you won't be able to handle it." Shang Yunxi froze for a moment. He laughed and said, "Afraid I can't handle it. Hongyao, don't you know me?" Shang Yunxi raised his hand and looked at the sky, calmly saying, "On the path of medicine, when have I ever been disheartened? Facing strong opponents with strength has been my lifetime motto. Even if Jiang Fan surpassed my past self, I wouldn't be shaken. Just read it. How many people has he diagnosed?" When Hongyao was still somewhat hesitant. Shang Yunxi indeed had a tenacious character, never disheartened by setbacks. But today, this setback seemed enormous. After a moment's hesitation, she carefully observed Shang Yunxi's expression and said, "The number of people Jiang Fan diagnosed is 29 people." What Wen Hongyao feared the most had happened. Shang Yunxi's expression suddenly solidified, his old eyes continually widened, and then he was just stunned there, like a withered piece of dead wood. She quickly comforted, "Big brother Shang Yuan, a momentary defeat means nothing. Maybe Jiang Fan was just lucky." Seeing that Shang Yunxi was still in such a state, when Hongyao said, "Perhaps Jiang Fan was too hasty in his diagnosis, and there might be misdiagnoses. I'll verify them one by one." Only then did Shang Yunxi's expression slightly soften. For someone who prided himself as the #1 divine doctor in the nine-sect land, it was intolerable to lose to an obscure youngster. He deeply doubted Jiang Fan's diagnosis count. Maybe he hastily made some diagnoses and quickly presented them to make up the numbers. That would make sense. When Hongyao said, "Jiang Fan, come with me and explain each disciple's symptoms one by one for me to verify." Jiang Fan cupped his hands and said, "All right. This disciple overdraws his life force. This disciple's skin is damaged by poison with unseen skin turning green. This one." He pointed them out one by one, and when Hongyao checked their pulse and asked questions, all their ailments matched Jiang Fan's diagnoses perfectly. In the end, all 29 disciples' diagnoses were entirely accurate without exception. This left Wen Hongyao stunned with her mouth agape. Shang Yunxi's body trembled even more. Unable to withstand such a massive blow, he suddenly collapsed into the stone chair. His once youthful appearance instantly aged several years. Mumbling to himself in self-mockery, "Master, your disciple has shamed you. I've worked hard my entire life, yet I cannot compare to a young man." His eyes grew dim, filled with intense self-blame. Wen Hongyao felt anxious. The consequences were more serious than she had imagined. Shang Yunxi's Dao heart had collapsed. It was inevitable that from now on he would become dejected, possibly leading to a depressed end. At that moment, Jiang Fan stepped forward to Shang Yunxi and calmly said, "Senior Shang Yuan, there's no need to be like this. My medical skills also come from your master, the undying doctor." Knowing his depth, Jiang Fan no longer concealed the truth, to avoid harming this top divine doctor of the nine-sect land. "What? My master?" Shang Yunxi abruptly raised his old head, his face filled with disbelief. When Hongyao was equally shocked, "Jiang Fan, are you the undying doctor's disciple?" "Wait, no, the age doesn't match." The undying doctor had been gone for decades. How old was Jiang Fan? Jiang Fan said, "I inadvertently comprehended the undying medical book, understanding just a bit of its surface. Today I embarrassed myself in front of Senior Shang Yuan and Elder Wen." Their shock not only failed to subside, but intensified even more. Shang Yunxi suddenly stood up, his old hands gripping Jiang Fan's arms, his old eyes flickering with astonishment. What did you say? You comprehended the undying medical book. Back then, when the undying doctor suddenly sensed his life coming to an end, he didn't have time to pass on all his life's skills to his disciples. He hurriedly compiled the undying medical book. All his life's work was within it. Before his death, he entrusted it to his disciples, urging them to comprehend it, and if they couldn't, they should distribute it worldwide for those destined to understand its true essence and carry forward the undying doctor's unparalleled skills. But including Shang Yunxi himself, a few disciples were powerless. Eventually, they could only follow his orders and distribute it to each city. Decades passed without a single person fully understanding this medical book. Over time, the undying doctor's inheritance was believed to be extinct. Decades later, suddenly a young man appeared, claiming he had comprehended the undying medical book. As the undying doctor's disciple, how could Shang Yunxi not be shocked? Jiang Fan didn't say anything, using 2 fingers to wipe over his eyes. A strand of spiritual power swirled around his eyes, moving in a mysterious pattern. It was as if he had put 2 lenses over his eyes. Seeing this, Shang Yunxi was completely astounded. Qi observation technique, master's unmatched Qi observation technique. With this Qi observation technique, diagnosing diseases would be like divine intervention. When Hongyao was shocked. Qi observation technique? That was the undying doctor's best skill back then. None of his disciples knew it. Except for the undying medical book, she couldn't think of any other source for Jiang Fan to learn it from. Jiang Fan said, "Do you believe now?" Shang Yunxi still held onto Jiang Fan tightly, though he was no longer as distraught as before. But his old cheeks were still filled with excitement, his old eyes welling up with tears, and he choked out, "Master's dying wish, finally someone accomplished it. Finally someone accomplished it." When Hongyao also felt sad. She was worried that Shang Yunxi might hurt his health from excessive grief, so she comforted him. "Your master's unparalleled skill seeing the light of day again is a grand event in our medical path. Big brother Shang Yun should be happy." Hearing this, Shang Yunxi quickly wiped his tears. "Yes, why am I crying? I should be happy." He quickly restored his composure and said with relief, "Losing to my master's successor, I do not feel wronged. I do not feel wronged at all, ha ha ha." With the help of the Qi observation technique, it was only natural for Jiang Fan to diagnose 29 people. Suddenly, he remembered a previous agreement. Taking out the box of blue flame silver needles, he laughed. "A bet is a bet, this belongs to you." Jiang Fan declined. "I only wanted to test my skills. The blue flame silver needle is Senior Shang Yuan's item. I cannot accept it as a junior." But Shang Yunxi firmly pushed it into Jiang Fan's arms, sternly saying, "When I give it to you, you take it. Moreover, we need to change how we address each other in the future." Change how we address each other. Jiang Fan was confused. Shang Yunxi looked at Jiang Fan with a hint of kindness in his eyes and said, "Since you've inherited my master's unrivaled skills, you can be considered half his disciple. From now on, you should call me senior brother." Senior brother. Suddenly having a famous senior brother, Jiang Fan couldn't adapt for a moment. When Hongyao felt overjoyed and quickly prodded Jiang Fan's arm, "What are you hesitating for? Call him senior brother now." In the 9th sect, Shang Yunxi was a highly influential figure. Having such a senior brother was like having a strong backing. For Jiang Fan, who came from an ordinary background, it was the best connection he could wish for. Jiang Fan finally cupped his hands and said, "Senior brother Shang Yuan." Shang Yunxi laughed heartily. "Junior brother Jiang, come, let's discuss the medical path further. I've had many unsolved issues over the years, but no one to consult. Today, I ask junior brother Jiang to enlighten me." When Hongyao's eyes brightened, and she eagerly moved closer. This was the pinnacle of medical discussions in the 9-sect land. Listening in for a moment was better than 10 years of hard study. Jiang Fan naturally did not refuse and nodded. "All right." At this moment, a disciple from Sect Master Peak ran over, panting. "Junior brother Jiang, haven't you received the spiritual medicine yet? Senior sister Liu asked you to go to the Paradise restaurant in Green Cloud City quickly. Don't delay." Jiang Fan was surprised and asked, "Paradise building? Has something happened?" The disciple delivering the message showed an anxious expression and said, "Senior sister has encountered trouble and asked you to hurry over there." What? Jiang Fan was shocked, but he was also bewildered. After all, this was the territory of the Green Cloud sect, who dared to bully Liu Qingxian. But since someone was sent to ask for help, he couldn't delay. He immediately cupped his hands towards Xiang Yunxi. "Senior brother, please wait a moment." Then he rushed to the Paradise building with great speed. Xiang Yunxi pondered for a moment. "Should I go help junior brother Jiang?" When Hong Yao chuckled. "What trouble could possibly happen under the Green Cloud sect's roof to the sect master's daughter? It's just some minor scuffles between the younger generation. Let them handle it themselves." Xiang Yunxi nodded slightly. "This auction event has drawn numerous elite disciples from various sects, resulting in a mixed crowd and inevitable conflicts. I better have my chief disciple also take a look and perhaps assist if junior brother needs help." When Hong Yao nodded. Xiang Yunxi's chief disciple was the Supreme Sect's chief disciple, ranked third on the 9-sect golden list. She was a prodigy like no other. With her presence, who would dare to act rashly? Meanwhile, Jiang Fan. He used his movement technique and hurried to the Paradise building. The imagined scene of Liu Qingxian in trouble did not appear. She stood safely at the entrance of the tavern, her beautiful figure in a purple dress attracting passing glances. Beside her was a handsome and tall young man. His cultivation had reached the core formation realm. He said kindly, "Junior Sister Liu, are you waiting for some formidable senior brother?" There were rumors about the pathway powder at this auction event, spreading across the 9 sects, attracting countless elites at the pinnacle of the Foundation establishment realm. The young man before him was a disciple of the Myriad Sword sect, Liu Qingxian, incredibly powerful, ranking 9th on the golden list. He organized a small martial exchange meeting among the sect's disciples. He had also formally invited Liu Qingxian, who had just broken through to the core formation realm and defeated Nangong Xiaolan. Upon learning about this grand event, Liu Qingxian immediately thought of Jiang Fan. Where elites from various sects gathered for a martial exchange was an incredibly rare opportunity. How could she forget Jiang Fan? Suddenly, Liu Qingxian saw Jiang Fan from afar, her cold face instantly lighting up with a smile as she waved happily. "Come quickly. Why are you just standing there?" Jiang Fan was puzzled. "Senior sister, didn't you say you were in trouble?" Liu Qingxian mischievously said, "If I didn't lie to you, would you have come?" For such exchange meetings, Jiang Fan wouldn't typically be interested. Tell him the truth, and he would surely refuse to come. "Come and meet senior brother Ling from the Myriad Sword sect. He's hosting a martial exchange meeting. You're about to undergo disciple grading. Participating would only benefit you." Learning it was a martial exchange, Jiang Fan rolled his eyes. He thought Liu Qingxian was in danger, making him rush all the way here. He cupped his hands towards Liu Qingxian. "I am Jiang Fan, a disciple of the sect master peak of the Green Cloud sect. Greetings to senior brother Ling." "Jiang Fan?" Liu Qingxian thought for a moment and said, "Could it be that disciple without a spirit root accepted by sect master Liu?" "Junior brother Jiang, your reputation has reached the Myriad Sword sect. I have heard of you," though he spoke with a smile. The underlying disdain was unmistakable, so it turned out they were waiting for a martial invalid. The elite disciples had already arrived. Jiang Fan had no interest in this kind of event and would rather return to discuss the medical path with Xiang Yunxi. "Senior brother Ling, senior sister Liu, I won't be attending this gathering. I have other matters to attend to. Farewell." Liu Qingxian felt a sense of arrogance. At least he had self-awareness to know he wasn't fit to participate in this exchange meeting and decided to quit. However, Liu Qingxian, having just broken through to core formation, was not very interested in Foundation establishment martial exchanges. Primarily, she wanted Jiang Fan to participate and benefit from it. Since Jiang Fan was adamant about leaving, she lost interest in attending, saying, "Then I won't participate either. Come, senior sister will treat you to a drink. You've helped me tremendously." Liu Qingxian was caught off guard. He organized the martial exchange to showcase his 9th-ranked golden list influence to Liu Qingxian. He wanted to gain Liu Qingxian's favor. If Liu Qingxian did not attend, the exchange meeting was meaningless. "Junior brother Jiang, please wait." Liu Qingxian had no choice but to stop Jiang Fan, saying, "What could be more important than meeting the prodigies from various sects? I have widely invited various strong experts, even the Supreme Sect's chief disciple, Nie Yunxi." Hearing the name Nie Yunxi, Liu Qingxian was startled and delighted. "Is she also in the Green Cloud City?" Liu Qingxian smiled. "Yes, she accompanied her master Xiang Yunxi to Green Cloud City." Admiration flickered in Liu Qingxian's eyes. "Will she also attend this martial exchange?" This, Liu Qingxian was uncertain. "I invited her, but whether she will attend is unknown. After all, with Nie Yunxi's status, she may not be willing to join our gathering." Liu Qingxian pondered. "Jiang Fan, stay and take a look." Xianxia is the third-ranked prodigy on the golden list. Her skills are extraordinary. Exchanging martial arts with her would be beneficial for both of us. She always saw Xianxia as a figure to chase after. Now that she finally had a chance to meet her, she didn't want to miss it. Seeing Jiang Fan's reluctance, Liu Qingxian stamped her foot. "Can't you stay for me?" Jiang Fan sighed helplessly. "All right." Liu Qingxian smiled sweetly, happily walked side by side with Jiang Fan. Ling Gihai frowned. He felt a twinge of jealousy. The unsympathetic Liu Qingxian, always cold to men, was actually acting coy towards Jiang Fan. What was he lacking compared to Jiang Fan? With a hint of displeasure, he followed them back into the tavern. He had booked the most luxurious private room, extremely spacious, with a small ring in the center for sparring exchanges. As soon as Liu Qingxian entered the chamber, it caused a stir. It's Liu Qingxian, she was really invited. Her aura is indeed at the core formation realm. The rumors are true, she broke through to core formation. So beating Nangong Xiaoyan isn't just hearsay. Who is the expert behind her rapid progress? Liu Qingxian cupped her hands and then unhesitatingly sat at the main seat. "Sit next to me." Not only that, she invited Jiang Fan to sit beside her. The present prodigies revealed surprised expressions. Who was this person from another sect able to sit alongside Liu Qingxian? At that moment, Ling Gihai walked in. Seeing Jiang Fan in the main seat, he sneered inwardly. This was a martial exchange, seating based on strength, not just sitting randomly. The seat beside Liu Qingxian was reserved for himself. Was Jiang Fan really qualified to sit there? But he masked his displeasure and intentionally took the seat at the very end. This action surprised the surrounding martial artists. Ling Gihai was ranked 9th on the golden list, a true prodigy. Also, he was the organizer of this gathering. How could he sit at the last seat? "Senior brother Ling, how can you sit here? You should sit at the head seat." Ling Gihai feigned indifference. "It's fine, let junior brother Jiang take my seat." He deliberately mentioned Jiang Fan's name. Hearing it, everyone was stunned. Jiang Fan, the disciple without a spirit root taken by the Green Cloud sect master. Isn't he a waste? How come he got invited? Competing rings and sitting in senior brother Ling's seat, does he have no sense of propriety? Knowing that the one by Liu Qingxian's side was Jiang Fan, they felt outraged for Ling Gihai. Jiang Fan furrowed his brow. The seat meant little to him. Giving it to Ling Gihai was no problem, but feigning grievance and drawing hatred was a low move. Initially, he had planned to give it up, but now he stayed seated firmly. Calmly said, "This seat is for Ling Gihai, but I, Jiang Fan, am also worthy to sit here. If Ling Gihai likes sitting at the last seat, let him sit there well. Be like water. Be gentle when it's needed, be fierce when it's necessary. There's no need to be polite to those with ill intentions." Ling Gihai immediately froze. He had thought that by instigating everyone to humiliate Jiang Fan would panic and give up his seat. But Jiang Fan didn't play by the rules. Not only did he not give up his seat, but he also called out names, leaving Ling Gihai unsure whether to get angry or endure it. If he got angry, this person was brought by Liu Qingxian. If he endured it, would the 9th rank of the golden list really sit at the last seat? Fortunately, Jiang Fan's words caused an uproar. "Impudent! How dare you speak to big brother Ling like that? Don't you have any sense? Move! Is this a seat you can sit at?" However, Jiang Fan remained unmoved. He glanced at a few shouting people and said, "Ling Gihai told me to sit here." "Who are you to contradict Ling Gihai?" A few martial artists were frustrated. They knew Jiang Fan's reasoning was absurd, but they couldn't refute it. Blame it on Ling Gihai for not having good intentions, wanting to trouble Jiang Fan, but Jiang Fan didn't play by the rules. Instead, it left Ling Gihai in a dilemma. Liu Qingxian finally understood the meaning behind Ling Gihai's words. Her face turned cold, and she slapped the table, saying, "I also asked Jiang Fan to sit here." "What, Ling Gihai and I have no objections, but you all do." The words they intended to say suddenly disappeared. With Liu Qingxian stepping in, how could they dare to be impolite? However, some still tried to defend Ling Gihai. The female disciple from the Desire sect, draped in a thin gauze, gracefully moved to sit beside Ling Gihai. Her voluptuous body pressed against his arm, her eyes seductively said, "Wherever junior brother Ling sits is the chief seat." Ling Gihai smiled slightly. "Fairy Ryu is too kind." The other martial artists suddenly realized this was a good opportunity to curry favor with Ling Gihai. During the martial path exchange later, if Ling Gihai was in a good mood and casually pointed out a move or two, it would be worth more than a year or two of hard training. So they all stood up. Indeed, the rank of a seat is determined not by the seat itself, but by the person sitting in it. Junior brother Ling, this seat here is the highest, watching them make a fuss over the seats. Jiang Fan reluctantly said, I told you I didn't want to come. Instead of wasting time, why not focus on cultivation? Liu Qingxian also frowned and said, what a mess. How did a well-intentioned martial path exchange turn into this? Let's sit for a while longer. If Xia Keoj doesn't come, we'll leave too. She couldn't stand this atmosphere either. But Ling Gihai was greatly enjoying being the center of attention. He smiled indifferently and said, Junior brother Jiang, sit as you please in my seat. The crowd couldn't help but sneer. Jai Ryu blinked her beautiful eyes and had a mind to flatter Ling Gihai even more. Junior brother Ling, I've long heard of your extraordinary swordsmanship, unmatched among the 9 sect. Ryu has admired it for a long time. Could you possibly demonstrate a segment of your swordsmanship to sate my appetite? With her words, everyone became interested. Some genuinely wanted to see the swordsmanship of this elite disciple from the Myriad Swords sect. Ling Ge also wanted to show off in front of Liu Qingxian. He had long heard that Liu Qingxian specialized in swordsmanship, and the Myriad Swords sect's swordsmanship was unparalleled in its precision and skill. So he said with a bright smile, since everyone is so kind, I'll show my humble skills. He got up and stepped onto the small stage in the room. Grasping the hilt of his sword, he suddenly drew it. A cold light flashed, as if a chilling sword gleam sliced through their hearts, causing an inexplicable cold shiver. The elites from various sects all showed signs of amazement in their eyes. Such impressive sword chi. Just drawing the sword has such momentum. The Myriad Swords sect's swordsmanship is certainly not an exaggeration. Ling Gihai's 9th rank on the golden list is indeed well-deserved. Ling Gihai was secretly pleased, and when he looked at Liu Qingxian and saw her focused attention, he felt even happier. He immediately performed a set of his most proud swordsmanship skills. Meteor chasing the moon, heavenly rainbow through the sun, great breaking general star. His swordsmanship was known for its might, each move stronger than the last. The sword chi crisscrossed, fierce, and thousands of beams. The granite stage beneath his feet became marked with invisible sword scars. The decorative scrolls hanging on the walls fell silently like shredded paper. Those watching from a distance couldn't help but hold their breath. There was a feeling of suffocation, like being in the vast ocean. Fearing that one misstep from Ling Gihai would cause the sword chi to lose control and swallow them. Clang, as the long sword returned to its sheath, the swordsmanship demonstration ended. The taut strings in everyone's hearts finally relaxed, and they breathed heavily. Jai Ryu wiped the sweat from her forehead, eyes full of admiration, lightly patting her chest in a fearful manner. Junior brother Ling, you were so terrifying when displaying your swordsmanship. I was afraid you might hurt me. Others also had lingering fear. Still as a gentleman, moving like thunder. That's the best description of junior brother Ling. I never understood what the 9th rank on the golden list meant, but now I finally do. We in Foundation establishment can't even breathe easily in his presence, let alone fight him. This time, they weren't just flattering. These were words from the heart. Even Jiang Fan, who didn't like his personality, couldn't help but praise. This guy does have real skills after all. The set of swordsmanship just performed was smooth and skillful, with power controlled at will. To reach the 9th rank on the golden list, he indeed had some tricks up his sleeve. Hearing all the acclaim, Ling Gihai was secretly delighted, and he smiled at Liu Qingxian, who had not spoken all along. Junior sister Liu, do you have any pointers on my swordsmanship? Everyone understood. Ling Gihai was using his swordsmanship to build a connection with Liu Qingxian. They all showed playful expressions. They wanted to see how Ling Gihai would win the heart of this famous beauty in the 9 sect. Unexpectedly, Liu Qingxian's expression was indifferent, and she simply uttered 4 words. Not as good as Jiang Fan. She admitted Ling Gihai's swordsmanship was indeed extraordinary. But after witnessing Jiang Fan's sword heart engraving with its terrifying lightning-like sword chi, she still remembered it clearly. In comparison, Ling Gihai's swordsmanship fell short. It didn't impress her at all. The atmosphere in the room suddenly dropped to freezing point. Everyone looked at each other, a little doubtful of their ears. Not as good as Jiang Fan. Ling Gihai's swordsmanship was not as good as Jiang Fan's. Was Liu Qingxian serious? And Ling Gihai, who was wholeheartedly trying to show off, felt as if he was struck by thunder. After all his efforts, this was the answer he received. He couldn't help but look at Jiang Fan. His eyes were filled with confusion. How was he not as good as a martial artist without a spirit root? To be blunt, he was a martial path trash. A deep sense of unwillingness brewed in his heart, and he said with a strained expression, Is that so? Apparently, junior brother Jiang's swordsmanship is so remarkable. Could junior brother Jiang possibly demonstrate it? So I can understand what makes it better than mine. Qingxian angrily and said in a low voice, "Would it kill you not to mention me?" Liu Qingxian's eyes showed a hint of cunning. "Less talk, aren't you going to accept the challenge?" Of course, she knew that mentioning Jiang Fan would inevitably make him a target. But she did it on purpose. And she even said that extremely hurtful remark about being inferior to Jiang Fan, who told them to look down on Jiang Fan and speak ill of him. Just let Jiang Fan perform well and slap their faces hard. With Jiang Fan's indifferent nature, if she didn't set him up, he wouldn't care about these things at all. Therefore, this scene took place. Jiang Fan was speechless. He really had no interest in performing anything in public. So he cupped his hands towards Ling Gihai and said, "My swordsmanship is mediocre. I dare not make a fool of myself in front of the elite disciples of the Myriad Swords sect." Don't take senior sister Liu's words to heart. But how could Ling Gihai let this slide? Liu Qingxian's words had put him in an awkward position in public. If Jiang Fan did not make a move, how could he refute her words? "Junior brother Jiang, it doesn't matter if you don't give me face, but are you going to disregard the face of the Green Cloud sect as well?" Ling Gihai's face looked displeased. "All the prodigies of various sects are present here, representing the dignity of their sects. You are afraid and do not fight, which will bring shame to the Green Cloud sect." Good heavens, it was clearly about regaining his own face. He even involved the sect. With the words spoken to this extent, Jiang Fan had no choice but to comply. He reluctantly said, "Let's skip the fight. My cultivation is low. I'll just demonstrate some swordsmanship." What Ling Gihai wanted most, of course, was to beat Jiang Fan up and show his absolute strength. However, that would not be a fair victory. After all, he was in the core formation realm, while Jiang Fan was only in the foundation establishment. Letting him practice some swordsmanship was good as well. All the elites from various sects were present. With sharp eyes, they could tell the quality of swordsmanship at a glance. "Fine, then please go ahead." Reluctantly, Jiang Fan was forced to take action. He stepped onto the stage, casually drew out his black sword, holding it loosely in his hand. Since it was a demonstration, just showing a little bit was fine, no need to go all out. This posture immediately attracted a lot of skepticism. There is no momentum in his sword draw. Can his swordsmanship surpass Ling Gihai's? He doesn't look like someone who practices swordsmanship. When Ling Gihai drew his sword just now, he was at one with his sword. What about him? Jai Ryu bit her red lips, her eyes revealing a look of disgust. She mocked sarcastically, "Everyone be careful. If he can't even hold his sword and it flies out, it will be very dangerous." Upon hearing this, everyone burst into laughter. Ling Gihai also showed a trace of contempt. Such a person, did he deserve to be compared with him in swordsmanship? However, the laughter was suddenly drowned out by a burst of explosive sound. Jiang Fan had already begun displaying his swordsmanship. "Splitting light sword?" Sword chi burst forth, striking the air in front of him, producing a rolling, thunderous sound. The closed room caused the rolling thunder to echo repeatedly, enhancing the momentum exponentially. In an instant, it drowned out the laughter. Everyone's faces froze in shock. What just happened? What made that loud noise? Is it a special attribute of that sword? Or is it Jiang Fan's swordsmanship? As they were wondering, Jiang Fan displayed the second sword move. "Sunrise over the sea." This time they saw it clearly. A powerful sword chi, carrying the majesty of a dragon rushing to the sea, pierced through the air in front of him. The explosive sword chi roared like thunder. It made their ears buzz. The decorations on the walls of the room shook and fell. Those sitting on the floor could feel the floorboards vibrating, causing their whole bodies to feel numb. Is this swordsmanship? What kind of swordsmanship has such terrifying power? But then, the third sword move was displayed. Heaven and Earth Star Fall? An even more terrifying, overwhelmingly powerful sword chi surged out. Experienced martial artists' faces changed dramatically, exclaiming, open the windows quickly, or we will all be deafened." Several martial artists near the windows hurriedly pushed them open, just in time. A thunderous explosion shook the room. Everyone felt a sharp pain in their ears and their bodies trembled. The powerful roar of thunder destroyed their hearing, leaving them with only piercing buzzing sounds. After a full 10 seconds, their hearing gradually returned. Looking around, the roof had lost large chunks of tiles, and the decorations on the walls had fallen to the floor in disarray. The stage was also split open with huge cracks from the explosive sword chi. In the blink of an eye, the room was in chaos. and this was because the windows were opened in time, reducing the impact of the thunder explosion. Otherwise, everyone present would have been injured. They looked at Jiang Fan in shock, unable to believe it. This swordsmanship was far superior to Liu Qingxian's by a significant margin. The two were not even on the same level. Does the Green Cloud sect truly have such powerful swordsmanship? Even the strongest swordsmanship of the Myriad Sword sect, which specializes in swordsmanship, may not be as marvelous as this. This must be some kind of joke. Is Jiang Fan really a disciple without a spirit root? With swordsmanship this strong, it ranks among the best in the 9-sect land. If he had enough cultivation with this swordsmanship, defeating Liu Qingxian and capturing the 9th place on the golden rank would be guaranteed. After this demonstration, everyone looked at Jiang Fan with a newfound respect. No one dared to label him as a disciple without a spirit root anymore. Liu Qingxian's face showed disbelief. This swordsmanship was far superior to his. What shocked him and everyone else the most was, when Jiang Fan returned to his seat, Liu Qingxian punched him lightly with her fist and complained, "Why didn't you go all out?" Their shock, which was just about to subside, was reignited. It turned out that Jiang Fan had performed casually just now without being serious. Recalling how loosely he held his sword, no one doubted Liu Qingxian's assessment. Liu Qingxian's face turned a little ugly. It turned out that Liu Qingxian was right. He was indeed inferior to Jiang Fan. Jai Ryu bit her red lips slightly. Her previous mockery was like a boomerang that hit her in the face. She felt quite embarrassed. She said mockingly, "It's just a coincidence that he knows a powerful swordsmanship. In the martial path realm, overall strength matters. Swordsmanship is just one component." Everyone agreed. Although Jiang Fan's swordsmanship was astonishing, far surpassing Liu Qingxian's. However, no one would think that Jiang Fan's status was higher than Liu Qingxian's. The latter had earned his 9th place on the golden rank through real strength. What about Jiang Fan? His name was unknown, or rather, he was known as the spirit rootless disciple throughout the 9th sect. In terms of status, he couldn't compare to Liu Qingxian at all. Therefore, after a brief moment of shock, everyone continued to flatter Liu Qingxian. Liu Qingxian couldn't help but disdainfully say, "A bunch of opportunists. Let's see what you say when Jiang Fan's strength improves." However, she said this without much confidence. No matter how much he improved, Jiang Fan's status wouldn't catch up to Liu Qingxian's in the short term. Liu Qingxian's fame was well established. How could Jiang Fan compete with that? But at this moment, a waiter hurriedly came upstairs. "Dear guests, may I ask if you know a fairy named Xianxia Cultivation? She is looking for someone named." He momentarily forgot who she was looking for. But everyone in the room exploded in excitement. Xianxia Cultivation, she had come as promised. Swish, swish, swish. Countless eyes focused on Liu Qingxian. Hiss, Liu Qingxian actually managed to invite Xianxia Cultivation. No wonder he is a top-ranked warrior on the golden list. Only someone like him has the qualification to invite a prodigy like Xianxia Cultivation. Liu Qingxian was also extremely excited. She looked at Liu Qingxian with newfound admiration. Unexpectedly, Liu Qingxian really could invite Xianxia Cultivation, the proud daughter whom she admired the most. Feeling the admiration from everyone, especially Liu Qingxian's admiration, Liu Qingxian instantly felt like a spring breeze, his whole body comfortable. The earlier displeasure dissipated instantly. He puffed out his chest and proudly said to the waiter, "Fairy Xianxia was invited by me. Please bring her in." Actually, even he didn't expect Xianxia Cultivation to come. When he visited Xianxia Cultivation, he hadn't even met her but had just left the invitation. Moreover, Xianxia Cultivation had a cold personality and disliked crowds. She rarely made public appearances, so he had no expectations. To his surprise, she actually came. This was a great honor for him. It was known that even higher-ranked warriors on the golden list invited her, but she ignored them. Then Liu Qingxian looked at the crowd and solemnly said, "You should be aware of Fairy Xia's character. It is not easy for her to attend our small martial arts exchange meeting. We must not neglect her. Let's rearrange the seating arrangements properly." Then he looked at Jiang Fan and righteously said, "Jiang Fan, I can sit at the last seat, but you can't make Fairy Xia sit at the last seat, right?" Jiang Fan didn't mind. Earlier, he did not yield because Liu Qingxian played tricks, making him unhappy. He had no attachment to the so-called main seat. He immediately stepped aside. Liu Qingxian moved her lips but thought that since it was Xianxia Cultivation, meeting such a prodigy was a great honor. There was no need to make her unhappy over a seat, so she did not stop him. Thus, the seating was rearranged. Liu Qingxian, Liu Qingxian, and the soon-to-arrive Xianxia Cultivation sat in the main seats. The remaining seats were arranged by strength. As for Jiang Fan, although his swordsmanship was indeed strong enough, no one felt that Jiang Fan's strength was above theirs. After all, they were all 8th layer and 9th layer foundation establishment experts. So Jiang Fan was placed at the very last seat, the same seat where Ling Gihai had just been. However, unlike Jai Ryu, who was willing to sit at the last seat with Ling Gihai, Jiang Fan had no such companion. The stark contrast made Ling Gihai feel comfortable. This was the way it should be, just as the seating was arranged. Footsteps sounded from outside the door. Everyone held their breath. The legendary Xianxia Cultivation was here. Ling Gihai said, "Stand up, prepare to welcome." Everyone stood up. Only Jiang Fan frowned and did not move. He couldn't stand this extreme sycophancy among elite disciples. They were all peers, and it was enough to interact as equals. Even if the other party was strong, respect should suffice. There was no need for such flattery. And Ling Gihai was directly opposite Jiang Fan. It was hard not to notice his abnormality. He hastily said, "Jiang Fan, what are you doing? Get up quickly." Everyone looked over, also shocked by his nonchalant attitude. Junior brother Jiang, the one coming is Xianxia Cultivation, the third-ranked peer of the 9-sect land. How can you be so negligent? Her coming is a great honor for us. It is only natural to be respectful. Quickly stand up. If your negligence displeases Xianxia Cultivation and she leaves, can you bear the responsibility? Jai Ryu, who had long been displeased with Jiang Fan, squinting her eyes, she said, "Do you think this is about losing face? Not at all of us prodigies are being respectful. Who do you think you are? Is your face bigger than ours?" Liu Qingxian frowned. To be honest, she also felt that everyone was being overly fawning. If Xianxia Cultivation wasn't someone she admired deeply, she wouldn't have stood up to welcome anyone. Seeing Jiang Fan's reluctance, she defended him. Let it be. If Xianxia Cultivation really cared about such pomp, she wouldn't stay in seclusion. Let Jiang Fan do as he wants. Ling Gihai firmly said, "How can that be? It took so much effort to invite Xianxia Cultivation. If she leaves because of him, can Jiang Fan take responsibility? Jiang Fan, stand properly. If you ruin this for us, you and I are not done." Seeing the conflict escalating into hatred, Liu Qingxian regretted forcing Jiang Fan to come. If she had known it would turn out like this, she would have let Jiang Fan do his own thing. Now, she could only ask Jiang Fan to bear with it, to avoid attracting unnecessary hatred. With a hint of apology in her eyes, she said, "Jiang Fan, stand up. As for welcoming, do as you wish." Ling Gihai frowned deeply, but with time pressing, he could not continue arguing. As the footsteps neared the door, he impatiently urged, "Just stand at the back and don't make a sound. Don't let Xianxia Cultivation notice you." Looking at Liu Qingxian's pleading eyes, Jiang Fan was helpless. He didn't want to drive away Liu Qingxian's most admired person. Sighing, he slowly stood up, squeak, as the door opened. Everyone's heart nearly stopped, their eyes all focused on the door. They saw a simply dressed woman in white standing gracefully at the door. Her shoulder-length hair draped casually behind her. Under her delicate willow leaf eyebrows were a pair of cold eyes like late autumn. Her nose was high and straight, her lips thin and delicate like April peach blossoms. Her cheeks were full, with a contour that caught the light, reflecting a faint glow. Although her face was bare, she gave a deeply stunning impression. In terms of appearance, she was no less than the famous Liu Qingxian of the 9-sect. Her figure was graceful, and under her white gauze dress, she looked like a masterpiece sculpted by the best jade craftsman. If she were a bit thinner, she would look emaciated. If she were a bit fatter, she would look bloated. She was perfect. Such a top-grade beauty stunned everyone in the room. They had only heard of her but never seen her. Now they realized that Xianxia Cultivation was a perfect, peerless beauty. Admiration appeared in Ling Gihai's eyes, and he hurriedly bowed to welcome her. "Ling Gihai greets Fairy Xia." The others snapped back to reality and followed suit, giving grand salutes. Only Jiang Fan stood there, neither fawning nor flattering. Xianxia Cultivation showed a hint of indistinguishable displeasure in her eyes and said in a clear and cold tone, "You are too kind, please sit." Ling Gihai was exhilarated. Others couldn't manage to invite Xianxia Cultivation, but he, Ling Gihai, did. He immediately said, "Fairy Xia, please sit." He pulled out the main seat in the center, inviting Xianxia Cultivation to sit. But Xianxia Cultivation didn't respond. She looked around and asked, "May I ask, is young Master Jiang Fan here?" Jiang Fan?" Ling Gihai was surprised. "Fairy Xia, why are you looking for Jiang Fan?" One was like heaven and the other like earth. They should have no contact at all. How could they know each other? Everyone was equally bewildered and looked at Jiang Fan. They couldn't help but think of an absurd idea. Could it be that the waiter said Xianxia Cultivation was looking for someone, not Ling Gihai? But Jiang Fan. but immediately they dismissed this absurd notion. However, the next scene completely overturned their knowledge. Xianxia followed their gaze and saw Jiang Fan. She then gracefully walked over, carrying a faint scent. And then she bowed deeply. Xianxia greets Uncle Master Jiang. Everyone present counted as one. At this moment, they all fell into a state of petrification. The prodigy they could never reach, who was like a female emperor of their generation, actually called the trash without a spirit root, whom they looked down upon, Uncle Master. Liu Qingxian's eyes widened. Her mind was incredibly chaotic, even somewhat questioning her life. She knew Jiang Fan's background better than anyone else. How could he have any relation to Xianxia, whom she admired, and even be respectfully called Uncle Master by Xianxia? She thought she knew Jiang Fan very well, but looking at him now, he seemed like a stranger. Jiang Fan was also momentarily stunned by the sudden greeting. He then realized that it was most likely Shang Yuansheng's doing, and with a slight smile, he nodded. "No need to be so formal, you may sit as well." Xianxia lightly nodded her slender chin and obediently sat beside Jiang Fan. This caused the martial artists present to stand up involuntarily. The third-ranked prodigy sitting at the lower seat. How could they dare to sit at the upper seats? This truly exemplified that wherever the strong sat, that was the chief seat. Liu Qingxian stood up awkwardly and said, "Fairy Xia, please take the chief seat." Xianxia replied in a cold voice, "No need, I will sit with Uncle Master for a while. Feel free, don't mind me." Although she said so, who dared to really not mind her? Everyone was extremely cautious. Jiang Fan couldn't help but laugh and cry. With such an atmosphere, it would be a wonder if this martial arts exchange could continue. However, before dispersing, it would be good to fulfill Liu Qingxian's wish. "Xianxia, that is Liu Qingxian, a disciple of the Green Cloud sect who has long admired you. Could you give her some guidance?" Xianxia looked up at Liu Qingxian, a faint smile appearing on her cold face. She stood up and said, "I have heard your name many times before. It is rare to meet, why don't we have a spar?" Liu Qingxian was flattered and overwhelmed. The sudden happiness left her at a loss. Encouraged by Jiang Fan, she gathered her courage and went to the arena to spar a few moves with the prodigy she had admired for years. Not long after, the sparring ended. Xianxia showed a trace of surprise. "You have made great strides in various aspects. What you practice is an earth-level finger technique." Liu Qingxian blushed and nodded, controlling her excitement. "Yes, it is called the Heavenly Ruined Finger." Xianxia sincerely admired. "At your age, to comprehend an earth-level technique to such a degree, your comprehension is stronger than mine." The Supreme sect also had a partial earth-level technique. She had practiced for many years and had just barely entered the basics. Not much stronger than Liu Qingxian. Yet Liu Qingxian was much younger than her and had practiced for a much shorter time. This made her envious. "With such comprehension, surpassing me is only a matter of time." Receiving such praise, Liu Qingxian was dizzy with joy, stumbling as she sat next to Jiang Fan. Blushing, she whispered, "Jiang Fan, thank you so much, you've made my dream come true." If not for the many people present, she might have given Jiang Fan a big hug out of excitement. At this moment, a strong fragrance wafted over. Jai Ryu, wearing thin gauze through which her body could be vaguely seen, walked over gracefully. She sat on the other side of Jiang Fan, leaning half her body against his arm, smiling. "Junior brother Jiang, senior sister has long heard of your uniqueness." Sect Master Liu, with such vision, chose to accept a disciple without a spirit root. There must be something extraordinary about this disciple. "Now that I see you, I know you are a prodigy of our generation. Senior sister boldly invites you, on behalf of the Desire sect, to come and visit our sect." As she spoke, she swayed her chest, rubbing against Jiang Fan's arm. The surrounding martial artists swallowed their saliva. Jai Ryu was one of the most outstanding disciples of the Desire sect, beautiful and alluring with an enviable figure. Just now she tried to curry favor with Liu Qingxian, but not as diligently as this. Now she was almost clinging to Jiang Fan, who wouldn't be envious. Liu Qingxian couldn't help but go mad, this damned fox spirit. Fortunately, before she could chase Jai Ryu away, Jiang Fan frowned, his body shook, and he pushed Jai Ryu off him, saying indifferently, "I will visit if there is an opportunity." If she had continued to jeer as before, Jiang Fan might have thought more highly of her. At least she would have stood her ground. But such a contrasting behavior made Jiang Fan loathe her. He disliked even a touch from her. Xianxia frowned slightly. She, like Jiang Fan, did not like such a chaotic scene. "Uncle Master, Xianxia has another technique to practice. I must take my leave now." Jiang Fan nodded, suddenly realizing it was the first time he met this junior niece. He should give a meeting gift. After a brief thought, he took out a bundle. "This is for you." Xianxia, expecting a meeting gift, smiled and accepted it. Peeking through a gap, she found a lump of something fleshy. Curiously, she opened it. As Shang Yuansheng's favorite disciple, she had insight and her face showed a hint of joy. "This is a demon beast's stomach pouch. This is an excellent medicinal ingredient." Many demon beasts consume heavenly materials and earthly treasures, and their stomachs preserve the essence of these. Adding a bit during medicine crafting enhances the medicine's effectiveness. "Wait, it's a beast king's stomach pouch." Taking another look, her usually cold face showed excitement. "What?" The disciples present were moved. A beast king's stomach pouch? The beast king's entire body was valuable, but the stomach pouch, such an important part, was worth a fortune. They looked at Jiang Fan with entirely different eyes. This trash without a spirit root, who kept a low profile, was not just Xianxia's uncle master, but also incredibly wealthy. And his gift was a beast king's stomach pouch worth a fortune. The next moment they were even more shocked. Xianxia examined it more closely and her joyful expression turned to astonishment. "This is the white crystal beast's stomach pouch. The white crystal beast has the bloodline of a demon emperor." In a hurry, she returned it. "Uncle Master, this is too precious, I cannot accept it." If it were a regular stomach pouch, she would have accepted it gladly as a significant gift. But a white crystal beast's stomach pouch, worth 10,000 crystals. How could she dare to accept it? Jiang Fan waved it off, saying, "Take it. This item is most fit for someone on the medical path. When you use it, pretend you're helping Uncle Master cure illnesses and save lives, earning merit for Uncle Master." Xianxia reluctantly accepted it. Bowing once more, "Thank you, Uncle Master." She had no feelings for this suddenly appearing Uncle Master. She had come just to follow her master's orders to see him. Unexpectedly, their first meeting brought such a grand gift, making it hard not to leave an impression. After Xianxia left, the atmosphere in the private room didn't improve much. They watched Jiang Fan with complicated eyes. Some were envious, some jealous, some in awe. Jiang Fan, unwilling to have more interactions, stood up. "Senior sister, let's go back." Liu Qingxian, having met Xianxia, felt her wish fulfilled. She nodded with pleasure. "Junior brother Jiang, wait." Unexpectedly, Ling Gihai stopped him. Jiang Fan looked over. "Junior brother Ling, any advice?" Ling Gihai, with a complicated expression, said, "Junior brother Jiang, you have hidden your talents well and made me see you in a new light. Since you have such status, senior brother wants to introduce an important person to you. So our acquaintance won't be in vain." "Oh." Jiang Fan thought for a moment. "Which important person?" Ling Gihai, with some pride, said, "Vice President Chen of this auction. Chen Luoyu." He wasn't introducing an important person at all. He clearly just wanted to show off his connections, to regain some face in front of Jiang Fan. These words caused a stir among the prodigies of various sects. "Junior brother Ling, what is your relationship with this Vice President Chen?" If it was just an acquaintance, it would be nothing special. There were many people who knew Vice President Chen. Ling Gihai chuckled. "What relationship? I have to call Chen Luoyu aunt." What? Everyone was in shock. They were actually relatives. Immediately their minds became active. Jai Ryu, who failed to curry favor with Jiang Fan, looked back at Ling Gihai with eyes full of admiration. "Junior brother Ling, you have given us another surprise. So many elites gathered here are here for two things. One is to seek the pathway powder to break through the core formation realm early, and the other is to purchase defensive and offensive weapons as much as possible. If junior brother Ling is willing to help, maybe we can buy our desired items at a lower price." The rest of the martial artists nodded in agreement. "I have no hope for the pathway powder. So many people are here for it. How could it be my turn? But I must grab some offensive and defensive weapons. I've heard that the beast tide has reached the Nine Sects border and will soon flood into the Nine Sects territory. At that time, no one will be spared. Having more weapons in hand means more security." Jiang Fan felt a slight tremor in his heart. Is the beast tide coming? According to Gong Kei, it was initiated by a demon emperor who had lived for hundreds of years. Demon emperor, that is equivalent to the nascent soul realm in humans. If it takes action, wherever it goes, it will leave nothing but devastation. No wonder this auction has gathered so many prodigies from various places. Besides the pathway powder, various offensive and defensive weapons were everyone's top choice. Ling Gi was very satisfied with everyone's reactions. This restored a lot of his confidence. So what if Xianxia has a powerful uncle? Can he bring any substantial benefits to everyone? No, it's better to use him to get more things at a lower price during the auction. What do you say, junior brother Jiang? Ling Gihai, arms behind his back, proudly said. If you want, I can take you to the auction right now and introduce you to my aunt. No need. Jiang Fan's reply left his face stiff. First, he was familiar with Chen Luoyu and didn't need anyone to introduce them again. Second, the idea of being able to buy auction items at a lower price just by knowing Chen Luoyu was too far-fetched. The two vice presidents checked each other. Whoever dared to make small moves during the auction would be exposed by the other. Ling Gihai felt dejected and said in a disappointed tone, Are you sure? This is a rare opportunity to connect with high-level contacts. Jiang Fan shrugged. He left without saying a word. Liu Qingxian hesitated for a moment, wanting to keep Jiang Fan. In her view, knowing Chen Luoyu was indeed beneficial to Jiang Fan, but she still respected Jiang Fan's decision. She quickly followed him, leaving Ling Gihai with a gloomy face. Ungrateful fool, introducing such an important person like my aunt to him, and he actually refused. Unless he doesn't attend the auction, he will undoubtedly regret it. After leaving Paradise Building, Liu Qingxian immediately pulled Jiang Fan aside, staring at him with full of doubts. What's going on with you and Xia Caoj? Why did she call you uncle? Jiang Fan said helplessly. It must be under the instruction of Divine Dr. Shangyuan. Liu Qingxian was even more puzzled. Why would Divine Dr. Shangyuan do that? Isn't he treating you as an equal? How is that possible? When my father sees him, he has to respectfully call him senior, even though one was the sect master and the other was the supreme sect great elder. But in terms of seniority and reputation, Shangyuan Sheng was much greater than Liu Wuchen. Beep, beep, beep. Suddenly, the communication jade pendant on Liu Qingxian's waist rang and her face changed slightly. I'm in the city. Why is my father sending a message? She crushed it, and the flowing light gathered into a line of words in the air. Supreme Elder is out of seclusion. Return quickly. The Supreme Elder here naturally referred to the Supreme Elder of Sect Master Peak. He was the highest-ranking existence among all the Supreme Elders. He was also the biggest support for Liu Wuchen to become the Sect Master. How could Liu Qingxian dare to neglect? She couldn't care about Jiang Fan's secret and said urgently, I'll find you later. With that, she hurried away. Jiang Fan felt relieved. Back to Medicine Peak, he was told that both Shangyuan Sheng and Wen Hongyao had gone to Sect Master Peak. Everyone's busy now. Jiang Fan said helplessly. Since that was the case, he himself couldn't slack off. The beast tide was imminent and the future dangers were unknown. He must quickly enhance his strength. Moreover, he also needed to help improve Su Yoren and Chen Silin together. So, he went to Heavenly Sword Peak. After asking around, he found Su Yoren and Chen Silin who were seriously practicing sword heart engraving at the martial arts training ground. They were practicing very skillfully with good form. Although there were still many flaws, it surprised Jiang Fan. Has someone been teaching them? Their progress is so fast. To see how difficult this technique was, just look at Liu Qingxian when she practiced it. Without his hands-on guidance, it would take half a year to figure it out. But Su Yoren and Chen Silin got to the same level as Liu Qingxian did in just 2 to 3 days by relying on themselves. Suddenly, Su Yoren discovered Jiang Fan and, filled with joy, put away her sword and ran quickly. Husband, what brings you here? Jiang Fan was surprised. Your swordsmanship advanced so quickly. Su Yoren pointed to the jogging Chen Silin. She taught me. Chen Silin's aptitude was a notch below Su Yoren's. How come it was Chen Silin who taught Su Yoren? Seeing Jiang Fan's astonished expression, Chen Silin felt a great sense of achievement. She raised her voice, selling a mystery. You haven't seen me for 3 days, you should look at me with new eyes. Jiang Fan almost burst out laughing, mangling a famous saying, not even afraid of ancestors turning in their graves. I'll ask you about it later, let's help you improve your realms first. Didn't we just break through? Su Yoren said in surprise. Chen Silin also opened her eyes wide. Eating foundation establishment pills like peanuts won't make you advance that quickly. Jiang Fan took out some essence meat wrapped in brown paper. Although he had given half to the Lin family head in Cloud Sun City, there was still enough for all 3 of them to eat. The powerful spiritual power contained within it was enough for the 3 of them to break through one more level. He mysteriously shook the brown paper. Husband has good treasures. Come on, let's find a quiet place to share it. The 2 women smiled brightly, eyes full of anticipation. Anything Jiang Fan gave them was never ordinary. However, The three of them standing in the martial arts training ground, laughing and talking, attracted a lot of attention. A handsome and scholarly young man saw this scene, sheathed his sword, and walked over. He slightly warned Jiang Fan with a glance, questioning, "Who are you?" An Outer Peak disciple flirting with the two most beautiful female disciples of Heavenly Sword Peak. Outrageous, Su Yoren frowned slightly and said, "Senior brother Nie, this is our husband." Jiang Fan, Nie Yunxi felt a surge of displeasure. These two beautiful junior sisters were actually this waste's fiancées. What a waste of talent. He nodded curtly at Jiang Fan, considered it as a greeting. Then, in front of Jiang Fan, he warmly invited Su Yoren and Chen Silin. "Junior sisters, it's mealtime. Let me treat you to a meal. I have specially prepared spiritual food to help you stabilize your foundation." Jiang Fan smiled, inviting his wives to dinner right in front of him. Did he think Jiang Fan was invisible? "No need." Jiang Fan turned him down for the women. "I brought food to share with my wives. Don't trouble yourself, senior brother Nie." Su Yoren also straightforwardly refused and made it very clear. "Senior brother, stop troubling yourself. Silin and I cannot accept your kindness." This man had been pestering the two women constantly. It had made them restless. Nie Yunxuo's cheeks twitched. He couldn't understand why these two junior sisters were so loyal to Jiang Fan, who was clearly inferior to him by thousands of times. Nie Yunxi looked at Jiang Fan coldly and said indifferently, "Really? What food do you have that can be better than the spiritual food I prepared? My junior sisters are future prodigies needing heavenly materials and earthly treasures. Can you provide that?" So aggressive. Jiang Fan was not polite either, weighing the brown paper in his hand. He calmly uttered three words, "Better than yours." Nie Yunxi laughed angrily. He had specifically inquired about Jiang Fan. Although he was taken as a disciple by the sect master, he was not valued at all. Last time during the demon beast hunt, such a dangerous mission, Liu Qingxian didn't give him any resources. What good things could someone like that have? He clasped his hands inside his sleeves, assuming a high and mighty posture, and said, "Let me be frank, you don't deserve my two junior sisters. Because you can't give them anything. Please don't bother them anymore in the future." Jiang Fan shrugged. "I have no problem as long as my two wives have no objections." Upon hearing this, Su Yoren pinched him angrily. "Just try and see if you dare to abandon us." Chen Silin looked at Nie Yunxi with annoyance, rubbing her temples as she said, "Second senior brother, it's you who are bothering us. Please don't do this anymore. Yoren and I have always been troubled by this." These harsh words made Nie Yunxi's face change, and he said, "Junior sister Silin, but every word I said is the truth. Ask yourself honestly, has he ever given you anything?" Chen Silin had a headache. What had Jiang Fan given her that needed any deep reflection? Everything she had now was given by Jiang Fan. To make him give up, she decided to be straightforward. "What my husband gave me, you could never give in your lifetime." Such heartbreaking words were unbearable for Nie Yunxi. He glared angrily at Jiang Fan, seeing the tense atmosphere. The female disciple who had been sparring with Nie Yunxi earlier sighed and sheathed her sword. She was Nie Yunxi's elder sister, Nie Yunxi. The year they were both recruited into the Heavenly Sword Peak by Li Qingxian, it was a celebrated event. They both made quite a name for themselves, especially the elder sister, who had already reached the 8th layer of the Foundation establishment realm. She was truly the big senior sister. The younger brother, Nie Yunxi, was at the 7th layer of the Foundation establishment realm, the second senior brother. Only the big senior brother was above them. What troubled Nie Yunxi was, since the arrival of Su Yoren and Chen Silin, Nie Yunxi, who had previously been focused on his training, seemed to lose his soul. He frequently showed warm concern and would not let go. Despite both women repeatedly rejecting him, he enjoyed it without end. He wanted to have both women and enjoy the blessings of having beauty by his side. Now, seeing the two women chatting and laughing with a man, he immediately abandoned his training to rush over and make a scene. She had not intended to intervene but had no choice now. "Everyone, calm down." Nie Yunxi walked over gracefully, her face showing kindness. Her voice was as gentle as water, calming everyone's hearts. Su Yoren and Chen Silin both showed respect to her, saluting together. "Big senior sister." Nie Yunxi glanced at Jiang Fan. Recalling her brother's many remarks about Jiang Fan, she already had a preconceived bias. Now that she saw him, she also felt Jiang Fan was unworthy of Su Yoren and Chen Silin. In comparison, her own brother seemed more suitable to have two stunning junior sisters, since her brother was so determined. She decided to help him achieve his wish so he could focus on his training from now on. Junior brother Jiang, welcome to Heavenly Sword Peak. Nie Yunxi's face was full of a friendly smile. My brother is young and reckless, don't hold it against him. How about this? I will set up a table at the dining hall to apologize to you on his behalf. Hearing this woman being considerate, Jiang Fan decided not to argue further, saluting. No need to be so polite, senior sister Nie. I will take Yoren and Silin elsewhere. The essence meat in his hands was very expensive. It was better to eat it in private to avoid trouble. Nie Yunxi responded enthusiastically. How can that be? You are the husband of my two junior sisters. It's rare for you to visit. Letting you leave just like that would make people speak ill of Heavenly Sword Peak. Jiang Fan was speechless. The biggest gossip was not spread by anyone but Heavenly Sword Peak, who claimed he advanced by overextending his potential. Wasn't it Heavenly Sword Peak Master Liu Qingxian? Su Yoren and Chen Silin exchanged glances, showing a bit of difficulty. Big senior sister invited them so warmly, repeatedly refusing would indeed hurt her feelings. They still had to stay at Heavenly Sword Peak for a while, seeing each other daily. Realizing this, Jiang Fan had no choice but to say, All right, I'll trouble you then, senior sister Nie. Nonsense, we are all family, come on. She led the way. Passing by Nie Yunxi, she gave him a meaningful look. Nie Yunxi understood this was his sister creating an opportunity for him. What kind of opportunity? Of course, a chance to shine at the dining table. Once he showed that he was far superior to Jiang Fan, how could the two women not be moved? Heavenly Sword Peak Dining Hall. It was packed with people. Nie Yunxi chose the brightest table and sat down. The surrounding disciples sensibly cleared the area, making space for them. Nie Yunxi went to the kitchen to arrange to bring out the delicacies he had meticulously prepared. These were all rare delicacies he had bought from various places in Green Cloud City. They were treasures he himself didn't want to eat. They had cost him several hundred crystal stones. At the long table, Nie Yunxi casually engaged the two women. Siling, did you receive your foundation establishment pill for this month? Chen Silin's eyes flickered, feeling a bit guilty. Yes, of course I did. The foundation establishment pill provided by the sect was of the lowest quality. But what Jiang Fan gave her and Su Yoren were top-grade foundation establishment pills. So the foundation establishment pills provided by the sect, they accepted and sold them on the spot, unwilling to consume them at all. Unaware of this, Nie Yunxi implied deeply. Don't forget to take them in the future. At the foundation establishment realm, resources are extremely important. But the sect can only provide a portion. To go further and faster, you need to obtain more resources from other channels. Otherwise, no matter how talented you are, it's hard to achieve great success. Chen Silin and Su Yoren hadn't caught her implication, nodding in agreement. Jiang Fan detected a hint of something. Why did it sound like Nie Yunxi was implying that he, Jiang Fan, couldn't provide enough resources? Nie Yunxi spoke skillfully, transitioning from broad to specific. She observed Chen Silin. Why don't you have a magic artifact yet? Then she glanced at Jiang Fan. The meaning was clear. Jiang Fan couldn't give you anything. Hearing this, Chen Silin looked at Jiang Fan with resentment, muttering, Isn't it because someone hasn't fulfilled their promise? Jiang Fan was momentarily stunned. It wasn't until he saw Su Yoren's green sword on her back that he suddenly remembered. When they first arrived at the Green Cloud Sect, he took the two of them to browse the disciples' stalls. He bought Su Yoren a mid-grade magic artifact. But there wasn't a suitable one for Chen Silin, so he promised to buy one at the next gathering. Later, with so many things to do, he forgot about it. He felt deeply embarrassed. Seeing this, Nie Yunxi's lips curled slightly. Stirring up trouble wasn't hard at all. However, the next moment what froze Nie Yunxi's smile was. Jiang Fan directly took out a bag, handing it to Chen Silin. I'm sorry, I forgot. Take this bag of crystal stones and buy whatever you like. Actually, Chen Silin wasn't really mad. Had Jiang Fan given her few things? How could she complain about a mere magic artifact? An extra bag of crystal stones was a pleasant surprise. She opened it to find 100 mid-grade crystal stones inside. Converting that, it was 1,000 low-grade crystal stones. She was overjoyed. Wow, 1,000 crystal stones, thank you, husband. Su Yoren wasn't pleased, extending her hand. What about mine? Jiang Fan couldn't help laughing, taking out another bag and handing it to her. These were all looted from the giant sect disciple Su Gangli. He didn't need them at all. Su Yoren looked inside and her face lit up with joy. Thank you for the 1,000 crystal stones, husband. Nie Yunxi was dumbfounded. He just gave away 2,000 crystal stones in an instant. She and her brother together didn't necessarily have that many. No wonder the two women were so devoted to Jiang Fan. So, Jiang Fan didn't lack resources. It seemed to compete with Jiang Fan. They had to rely on the spiritual food her brother had painstakingly obtained. Those weren't something money could buy. It required connections. Surely Jiang Fan couldn't come up with something better than spiritual food, right? After waiting for a long time, the spiritual food still hadn't been served. Jiang Fan felt that this was truly a waste of time. Straightforwardly, in front of Nie Yunxi, he took out the cowhide paper bundle. "Yoren Silin, let's eat a bit first. When the spiritual food arrives, if you still want to eat, you can have some more." As he spoke, he unwrapped the cowhide paper, revealing a lump of bloody meat. Su Yoren frowned. "What is this? Is it edible?" Chen Silin also felt somewhat repelled. She had thought it would be something like heavenly spirit earth dew, but it turned out to be a heap of raw meat. However, Nie Yunxi, who was standing to the side, widened her eyes in astonishment. "Essence meat! Beast King's essence meat!" Nie Yunxi's eyes shimmered with excitement. She couldn't help but exclaim. "This is the best ingredient for a Foundation Establishment realm martial artist. Enough to elevate one entire layer of Foundation Establishment. Junior brother Jiang, could I?" "There's only this much, sorry." Jiang Fan decisively declined. It was originally only enough for the three of them. Moreover, the Nie siblings were still trying to get his woman. Only if he were out of his mind would he share with them. As he spoke, he pulled out his black sword and divided the meat into 3 portions, each hand out to Chen Silin and Su Yoren. Only then did the two women realize that this was incredibly valuable top-grade food. They were overjoyed, carefully cutting a bit and putting it in their mouths. The imagined bloody taste didn't come. On the contrary, the essence meat was fragrant and tender. With a gentle chew, it turned into juice, sliding down their throats. Sweet and delicious, extremely tasty, enthusiastically they immediately ate all the essence meat. The vast spiritual power contained in the meat quickly nourished their spirit ponds, causing the spiritual power within to rise rapidly. Jiang Fan smiled faintly and also ate his portion of essence meat. Then he closed his eyes and guided the spiritual power within his body. The three of them began cultivating right there in front of Nie Yunxi. Not long after, with the arrival of 3 distinct waves, they all made breakthroughs together. Jiang Fan, who was already at the perfection of the 6th layer of Foundation Establishment, easily broke through the barrier and reached the 7th layer of Foundation Establishment. Su Yoren advanced from the perfection of the 3rd layer to the 4th layer of Foundation Establishment. Chen Silin also took a step forward, moving from the 2nd layer to the 3rd layer of Foundation Establishment. Nie Yunxi's feelings at that moment were indescribable. How difficult was it to break through in the Foundation Establishment realm? Even if one took Foundation Establishment pills daily, it would take a month to break through a single layer. Su Yoren and Chen Silin had only just recently made breakthroughs. By logic, it should take much longer for them to reach the next stage. Now, with the essence meat given by Jiang Fan, they had easily moved up a whole layer. She was envious. How great would it be to have a man who could give her Beast King's essence meat? Ding, ding, ding. Nie Yunxi walked over, energetically holding a plate of delicately prepared spiritual food. "The spiritual food I meticulously prepared is here. Finishing this meal is equivalent to 5 days of Foundation Establishment pills. Junior sister Yoren, junior sister Silin, have a taste. This is a token of my good intentions." Of course, he didn't forget to taunt Jiang Fan. "This is prepared for the 2 junior sisters, none for you. If you want to eat, you'll have to earn it yourself." Ahum. Nie Yunxi wiped her face, embarrassed for her brother. Jiang Fan had just eaten Beast King's essence meat, the top-tier ingredient. These spiritual dishes, worth merely a few hundred crystal stones, looked like trash in comparison. Even if given to him, he probably wouldn't want to eat them. "Yunxi, how can you talk like that?" Nie Yunxi tried to save face for her brother. "If junior brother Jiang is willing to eat, it's giving you face. These are just ordinary dishes, they're nothing special. Don't act like you've never seen the world." Nie Yunxi was dumbfounded. These are ordinary dishes. Didn't his sister know how many crystal stones and resources it took to gather these? Moreover, she said Jiang Fan would be giving him face by eating them. He retorted angrily. "Even if Jiang Fan wanted to eat, I wouldn't care to give it to him. Junior sisters do have a taste." Su Yoren still felt full from the essence meat. Looking at the variety of spiritual dishes, she had no appetite at all. "I'm full, thank you." Chen Silin still had the sweet taste of essence meat in her mouth. Facing the spiritual food in front of her, she couldn't bear to eat it. "I'm all so full, you eat yourself." Nie Yunxi was stunned. Top-quality ingredients, but they weren't interested at all. "Junior sisters, if you miss this chance, there won't be another. You'll regret not having a chance to eat such good ingredients again." Su Yoren felt speechless listening to him. Chen Silin rolled her eyes and muttered, "Who's interested?" Nie Yunxi, standing beside them, couldn't bear to listen any longer. If this continued, her brother's face would be completely lost. She hurriedly said, "Junior brother Jiang brought Beast King's essence meat for the junior sisters. After eating it just now, they've already broken through a realm. They probably aren't hungry now. Give these spiritual dishes to other junior brothers and sisters." What? Nie Yunxi was frozen in place. Beast King's essence meat broke through a realm? He couldn't believe it. "Sister, you must be joking. Where would this guy get Beast King's essence meat and help the junior sisters break through a realm? Does he have that capability?" Su Yoren lightly furrowed her willow-like eyebrows. She couldn't tolerate Jiang Fan being continually belittled and directly circulated her spiritual power. She revealed her cultivation at the 4th layer of foundation establishment. "Sorry, but sister wasn't joking." Chen Silin also displayed her cultivation at the 3rd layer of foundation establishment, then affectionately held Jiang Fan's arm. "Thank you, husband, for helping me reach the 3rd layer of foundation establishment." "You're the best." Jiang Fan was both amused and touched. Feeling relieved, he held the hands of the two women. "Since you're not hungry, let's go. Let me guide you with your sword heart engraving. I saw some flaws in your technique earlier." The two women nodded happily. They wished Jiang Fan could stay at the Heavenly Sword Peak forever and spend more time with them. Nie Yunxi was utterly shocked. It was actually true. Jiang Fan had indeed given them Beast King's essence meat. Thinking about how he had proudly presented a plate of spiritual dishes like a treasure, boasting in front of the two women. He felt his cheeks burning hot. He was both embarrassed and angry. Why didn't Jiang Fan reveal he had essence meat earlier? Did he do it on purpose to embarrass him? Watching Jiang Fan leave, embraced by the two women with adoring eyes, he sneered. "Jiang Fan, you're going too far." Jiang Fan turned to look at him, confused. How had he bullied him? Seeing trouble, Nie Yunxi quickly blocked her brother. "Yunxi, calm down." This time, Nie Yunxi wouldn't be stopped. "Don't interfere." "Jiang Fan, do you think this is fun? Didn't Sect Master Liu teach you to respect senior disciples?" The loud argument immediately drew the attention of all the disciples in the dining hall. They all threw curious glances over. "Is senior brother Nie going to teach a lesson to that Sect Master Peak guy? It's about time. Coming to our Heavenly Sword Peak, flaunting when our male disciples are like vegetarians." Various voices piped up, making Nie Yunxi all the more determined never to let it go. Jiang Fan's eyes narrowed slightly. To give Su Yoren and Chen Silin some peace in the future, it was time to give Nie Yunxi some awareness. "Disrespect, so what?" Nie Yunxi had been waiting for those words. "Very courageous, huh? Then you must have the guts to spar with me." Nie Yunxi's face changed slightly. Up to this moment, she thought her brother had already lost. Whether in terms of resources or the help he gave to the two girls, Jiang Fan was beyond her brother's reach. It was impossible to poach those two junior sisters. Giving up was the wise decision. Fighting any further would be too costly. After all, no matter how you say it, Jiang Fan was the sect master's disciple. Coming to Heavenly Sword Peak and getting injured wouldn't be justifiable. "Yunxi, stop messing around," Nie Yunxi scolded. "Come with me." However, Nie Yunxi had already made a harsh statement in public. He was already in a difficult position to withdraw. "Don't worry, I'm not going to do anything serious to him." Nie Yunxi shook off her hand and glared at Jiang Fan fiercely. "What's scared? If you're scared, admit it and get out of Heavenly Sword Peak. You're not welcome here." Su Yoren and Chen Silin glared angrily. Their disgust for Nie Yunxi reached its peak. "Nie Yunxi," Su Yoren bit her silver teeth, saying, "It's you who should leave." Chen Silin also stood in front of Jiang Fan, saying coldly, "If you want to bully my husband, you have to step over me first." Although they believed in Jiang Fan's ability, Nie Yunxi was a strong cultivator at the 7th layer of foundation establishment. His strength was in the top 30 within the sect. How could Jiang Fan compare? Suddenly, both of their waists tightened, being embraced by Jiang Fan on the left and right. He hugged the two beauties, smiling slightly. "I appreciate the kindness of my two wives, but I don't like hiding behind women." He raised his hand, looking at Nie Yunxi. "Then let's have a duel." Everyone felt greatly surprised. Jiang Fan was known as a disciple without a spirit root, a renowned weakling. Nie Yunxi was a prominent figure in the sect. Comparing the two in a duel was like a warrior fighting a dog. What difference did it make? How much courage had Jiang Fan summoned to dare accept the challenge? Is he trying to save face in front of beauties, forcing himself to accept? He's too young. At this time, he should bow his head and admit defeat, then seek revenge after becoming strong. Some felt regret, others took pleasure in his misfortune. Seeing that it couldn't be stopped, Nie Yunxi had no choice but to say, "You can duel, but stop before getting too serious, got it?" "No problem," Nie Yunxi smirked. He hadn't planned to seriously hurt Jiang Fan. He just wanted to humiliate him severely in front of the two junior sisters. To avenge the earlier humiliation, Jiang Fan had no objections either. Thus, the group moved to a nearby arena. To prevent the situation from escalating, Nie Yunxi dismissed all the onlookers. Only a few of them remained on the scene. Meanwhile, Liu Qingxian was personally receiving an old white-haired man with a scruffy beard and tattered clothes. "Supreme Elder, why have you suddenly returned?" The white-haired old man in front of him was none other than Heavenly Sword Peak's Supreme Elder, Xianxia. Unlike other Supreme Elders who guard critical places of the sect after retiring, he freely roamed the world. He had been gone for more than 10 years. "If I didn't return, were you planning to end up in the demon beast grave?" Xianxia's temperament was fiery, and his words were never pleasant. Liu Qingxian was used to it, and he emotionally said, "It's fortunate that the Supreme Elder still remembers us disciples and grandchildren." Upon reaching the peak, seeing the changes everywhere, Xianxia couldn't help but ask, "How is Heavenly Sword Peak now?" Liu Qingxian showed a look of shame. "I am incompetent. Now Heavenly Sword Peak ranks 5th among the 10 peaks." When Xianxia was around, Heavenly Sword Peak was in the top 3. After he took over, it had fallen by 2 places. Upon hearing this, Xianxia didn't blame him, patting his shoulder. "It's not your fault. If anyone's to blame, it's me. I've been wandering for so many years, unlike other Supreme Elders who stayed in the sect to protect their peaks. You've done well not to be pushed to the bottom." These words touched Liu Qingxian deeply, making his eyes moist. Only he knew the hardships Heavenly Sword Peak had endured over the years. Resources being withheld, seeking help but finding none. It was only through walking on thin ice that they made it this far. "Rest assured, Supreme Elder, I've recently found 2 disciples with excellent aptitude by a stroke of luck. Once they're cultivated, they will surely support Heavenly Sword Peak and restore its former glory." Xianxia was surprised. "Really? Take me to see them. I want to see just how good their aptitude is." Suddenly, they discovered a group of disciples gathered in front of a rockery in the distance. Liu Qingxian looked at the time, realizing it was past mealtime. His face sank and he scolded, "Why aren't you all cultivating? What are you doing here?" The disciples scattered like frightened birds. Only then did Liu Qingxian realize that through the cracks in the rockery, they could see a nearby arena. 2 people were dueling. Xianxia also saw it and became interested. "Oh, a duel between disciples on the peak. Let's take a look." Concerned about scaring them, the 2 did not reveal themselves. They stood behind the rockery, observing through the cracks. Upon seeing the 2 on the arena, Liu Qingxian's expression turned strange. "Why is it Jiang Fan?" Xianxia asked. "Who is Jiang Fan?" Liu Qingxian sighed, saying, "He's the husband of those 2 female disciples standing in the corner and a new disciple under sect Master Liu." Xianxia was surprised. Then his aptitude must be excellent, right? Liu Wuchen only narrowly won his position as sect master back then. He must have been constantly threatened by Feng Guchen over the years. He should be sparing no effort in training his disciples. Any disciple with even slightly inferior aptitude would not catch his eye. Liu Qingxian found it both funny and awkward. He cupped his hands and said, "Supreme Elder, please clarify, Sect Master indeed has been constantly pressured by the Great Elder. The disciples under the Sect Master are all elites. However, Jiang Fan is an exception. He is a disciple without a spirit root." Huh. Xianxia was puzzled. "Without a spirit root? Are you sure? Even if Liu Wuchen were out of his mind, he wouldn't choose a disciple without a spirit root." Liu Qingxian said, "Although I don't understand why the sect master accepted him as a disciple, he truly has no spirit root. This has been confirmed by both the detection tower and myself. There is no mistake." This, Xianxia was equally baffled. He pointed at Nie Yunxi. "Is that person from our peak?" Liu Qingxian displayed a hint of pride. "Yes, he is one of my prized disciples, already at the 7th layer of foundation establishment." Xianxia looked him over, nodding slowly. At such an age to be at the 7th layer, indeed impressive, a fine prospect. But why is Jiang Fan, a disciple without a spirit root, dueling with him? Li Qingfeng was also confused. I don't understand either. From my interactions, he doesn't seem foolish. Dueling with Nie Yunxi is seeking suffering, after thinking about it. Li Qingfeng said, I'll go stop them. Though Jiang Fan has no future in the martial path, he treats my two female disciples well. He's humble and polite. There's no need to watch him suffer, just as he was about to reveal himself. On the arena, the duel had already begun.